It's the best of Jim Norton and Sam Roberts.
I talked to Bobby, as I told you, over the weekend, and he told me, and I was so upset that we didn't find out about it as it was happening. He was in here on Thursday. It was Thursday, right?
I think so, yes.
And the entire time that Bob Kelly was on the show on Thursday, the whole time, he had a dirty red pair of underwear rolled up in his sweatpant leg. And he found it when he got in the car. Immediately after leaving, he found it. But the entire time, he had a dirty pair of his underpants rolled up in his sweatpant leg.
I would like to have known that.
Would that have made you happy if he had stood up halfway through the show and dirty underpants had fallen off of his pants?
It wouldn't have made me... I couldn't have been happier if they were photoed Bob in fucking thigh highs jerking off in an airplane cockpit. How great is that guy? The pilot?
Yeah. It was...
British Airways.
Yeah, British Airways pilot. He's been suspended, which is total bullshit.
You know, sometimes you have to side with the airlines.
What?
Suspending the pilot who puts his feet up on the console in thigh highs and takes a picture of himself jerking off.
I like how this college kid got expelled from college.
Right.
For blackface, right.
And this guy just gets a suspension.
Yes, a good talking to.
Yeah.
Right. Maybe you shouldn't do that with 200 people at 30,000 feet.
Well, he's probably not that experienced. He's only 51 years old.
When do you do that, though? Where does somebody go that you're comfortable enough to take your pants? Oh, you know what? You have to buzz them back into the cockpit.
Oh, yeah, it's locked up.
But it doesn't matter. How, like, if you're buzzing your way to get back into the cockpit, I mean, Jesus, isn't there anybody in there with you?
And he did it twice.
Is there nobody in there with you?
How long does the co-pilot leave for? What's he going like? He's probably checking every time. He's like, hey, I'm gonna hit the bathroom. Is it a number 1 or a number 2? I need to know.
But they send somebody in with you.
Do they?
They have to. What if the captain has a heart attack?
Yeah, I think Jim's right.
So open the door.
That might be an American thing, though.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah, because otherwise he's got to be like, look, I need for you to go ahead, take a snooze. I need for you to put a blindfold, do something, because there's an exercise that I kind of have to do in the cockpit. There's a reason why they call it that.
Maybe the other guy that's fucking in there like licking his balls or something. Sucking his dick.
All right, well, you don't
Why
have
would you think that?
Because maybe the other guy was fucking down there, fucking nose deep in the belly button, eating his cum. Am I saying that too roughly for early?
Yeah, I don't understand where that would even...
Too roughly for early?
I couldn't get the words out.
Well, Jim's so excited about this dick sucking talk that he can't form sentences.
Whoa, hey. Slow down.
What?
No, I'm a little tired because I did a gig last night and then I drove home from Philly.
Right.
And fucking, I packed and then I unpacked and packed immediately. And we're leaving at 10 we're playing Best Of.
And then you got all titillated.
To go to the airplane.
Reading this story, hoping.
Yes, I did.
This is why you sit up front, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
So you can be a little closer to the cockpit, just in case a party breaks out.
Just in case someone's tugging their prick in the cockpit.
This is what they said. A British Airways pilot has been suspended amid claims that he pleasured himself while wearing stockings in the cockpit. Oh, and they have to add this. At 38,000 feet.
But you know what, though? I normally wouldn't. I would side against the media, but that might be pertinent. The danger of being distracted. I don't want my pilot jerking off in stockings.
Instead of just doing it while it's like taxied.
Yeah.
Bro.
Do all the refueling.
It's autopilot, bro. Like, once you're in the sky, you're good.
I understand.
All you need is a pilot to take off and land.
I bet that's what happened on that fucking Malaysian Airlines flight. The guy got all fucking lathered up, and then his heel kicked the wrong thing off, and the plane shut off and fell.
And he was trying to steer it, but his hands kept slipping because it was full of lube.
Look at the picture
and lotion.
I love how he can't get enough of his own thighs and the thigh highs. I own the exact same pair, and his fucking feet are wrapped right around the thing.
First of all, I have no faith in that airline equipment.
That really is ancient looking, but they said
shit
that
looks like it was in the 70s.
My favorite part is his pants and his shoe at the bottom of the photo. Look at his shoe at the bottom, how he just slipped out of those pants. How funny is
yeah,
that?
there they are. I didn't even see the pants with the belt still in them.
He literally, this guy goes to take a shit, he slips out of them, tugs his dick, and then immediately puts them back on.
How quickly do you think he took his pants off once that door closed?
All right, be right back. Slip, legs up.
You think his co-pilots Like they look at him because they can tell. Like when you look at his ankles, they're like those. I think he's wearing stockings.
No, you don't look at someone's ankles. You're right though. He probably has
because you
on.
get high waters in those pants.
Yeah,
and you'd notice. There's somebody that's noticed.
Maybe he has socks. Maybe he has socks on. Maybe they're stitched to his pants.
I don't think so because I think he needs a quick slip. He needs a quick slip off. It's really gross. This picture, it's blurred out.
Why are they blurring that out?
In the private area. See it. But you can tell, like, it's cut off before the dick starts. But all you'd see is the bottom of the balls and the top of the asshole. Wow. Dirty and hairy.
But they have the serial. The problem is there's a serial number.
No.
So they can tell that, like, when these flights were. Like, this was not in a simulator.
This is good, though. He's still steering the flight. Like, he's steering the plane with his feet.
He's probably better and he looks a little bit like me, a slimmer, older version of me, which is a bit hurtful.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah,
he does. He's a handsome guy.
Yeah.
He's a handsome guy.
Like to tug my willy.
He's got a good body.
Love flying.
And now they're showing they show the cockpit. This was the scene of the crime where the man put on stockings.
Love propping my feet up, tugging my prick, tugging my willy.
What do you think he would say if, like, the stewardess walked in?
Oh, hold on. Hold on, love.
Right. We can wait on that.
That's really embarrassing. The shoe at the bottom of the picture is my favorite thing ever. I just noticed that.
It's so good. And his pants just piled up.
Oh, it's so great.
It was Captain Colin Glover. Captain Colin Glover, who's 51, was removed from flying duties.
Yeah, I fucking cut away, prick. I tell you around the face. Fucking piece of shit.
It's Captain Colin Quinn.
I don't give a care.
It says after
when he was startled and he spilled his tea on his lap as he was dipping his corn muffin into it.
Yeah,
all over his thigh highs.
He's suing the airline because he was trying to masturbate and their coffee was too hot. It says the bosses, after we alerted bosses to a series of sordid images, seemingly shot in a Boeing 777 on a long-haul flight, they reveal a pervy airman in stockings taking lurid selfies of his aroused manhood. Whoever wrote this article was just jerking off to his own language.
Absolutely.
He loved using his words.
Be a pilot, a badass pilot.
That's right. That's right.
So wait, how did they get the pictures? Who did he send it to? I bet he posted them somewhere, and the serial number gave him away.
Oh yeah, I bet that's right. It says other images show a pornographic magazine spread on the controls and explicit playing cards scattered around the cockpit.
What is it, 1980?
Yeah, the fucking nudie girl playing cards. What does he also have? One of those pens that if you turn it upside down, you watch the clothes come off.
Yeah, the lady's naked.
This is for the long flight. Serial numbers on the control panel suggest the pictures were taken aboard at least 2 separate British Airways planes.
How creeped out is this co-pilot? I bet you a lot of, oh yeah, moments are happening with the co-pilot.
That's what that was. That's what that was.
We don't have our food yet.
With his feet up. He just likes to, he's a man. And I tell you, they showed the porn. And it is ladies in the porn. It's straight dude porn. So he's just a guy that likes the way stockings feel against his legs.
That's it. A lot of guys like that. Ed Wood was like that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of guys that will put on a pair of thigh highs and not feel like I want to be a woman. It just feels dirty and inappropriate with a pair of panties.
I like to wear women's clothes.
Yes, it makes me feel closer to them. I like putting on ladies' underwear.
So he just likes the way nylon feels against his skin.
You put on thigh highs, right?
No.
Oh.
What?
I just thought we were bonding.
No.
Oh, whatever.
No.
Don't judge. Don't be judgy.
I hope they let this guy come back. There's no way.
They can't.
Well, they know, too. He can't fly a plane without masturbating.
Plus,
There's
who the
no
fuck
way.
wants to hear the captain so-and-so? You're like, oh, guys, I think I got a jerk swab.
Ah, shit.
Oh, no, it's him.
Look at, no. His name wasn't Colin, was it? Colin Glover. It was a different Colin. It was... Oh, no.
Oh, for Pete's sake.
In a follow-up story, he's also in trouble for not wearing a seatbelt.
How are you going to wear a seatbelt while you're jerking off? You got to be comfortable.
No, I'm not kidding.
Wait, how is he throwing
because if there was turbulence and he got injured because he wasn't wearing a seatbelt,
it would have been a liability.
I wonder, but I wonder if you have to wear, I wonder if the rule is you have to wear a seatbelt while the other guy leaves.
I would assume that they have to wear a seatbelt at all times in case they hit turbulence
Right.
and get injured.
Oh, boy, that's the worst part about being a captain. Just when we thought it was easy breezy.
Yeah, that's the thing that's going to keep you from doing it.
And he's like, guys, I understand I wasn't wearing my seatbelt, but it makes it very difficult to control the steering wheel with your nylon-covered feet if you're wearing a seatbelt.
He's finished.
He's trying to justify. He's getting really mad. He's trying to justify everything. These are long flights, and you have to take off your seatbelt so you can control the steering wheel with your feet. This is. Do I sound crazy?
There is no way to fix this.
No, he's trying though.
A further sordid snap shows the man with his genitals exposed in a cabin's toilet. I don't mind that as much. If
Right.
you're taking selfies while you're fucking taking a dump and you're jacking off, that's fine. But
You
in
don't mind your pilot taking a nice masturbation break?
No, I don't care about
It's a long
pilot
flight.
jerks off. Do what you got to do.
Right,
I
right.
have no issue with that. Wear thigh highs. I don't care. Fucking crank your dick over the sink.
Right.
Leave it there. Let those snooty people in first class wash their face in your load.
That's
Why
it.
am I being? Why? I didn't have to do that.
Right into the liquid soap dispenser.
No, so stupid.
There it goes.
It's the best of Jim Norton and Sam Roberts.
Some people are saying that this is the most important election in a lot of people's lifetimes, especially the young people's. Well, to give us a little insight on everything that's been going on, ladies and gentlemen, on the phone with us, the one and the only Ken Bone. Ken, are you there?
I'm here, Jim. Sam, how you doing this morning?
Great,
Hey.
Ken Bone. How are you?
I couldn't be better.
Let me start with this question that I think is on everybody's mind. Are you wearing the sweater?
No, I'm
What?
laying in bed right now, so I don't sleep in it. It's got to get washed sometime.
What are you wearing?
You don't want to know. Your listeners don't want to talk about it.
That's probably right. That's probably right. How often would you say you wear the red sweater?
Every time I go out and do any charity appearances or media interviews or anything, I'm wearing it. So almost every day.
I see. We follow you along on Twitter. How did the dinner with I think it was Grandma go over the weekend? You said that was a media blackout day.
Yeah, I didn't do any media that day. The only thing I did was I went to my local police department in my hometown where my grandma still lives. Took some pictures with them, and then it was off to Grandma's house. We'd made chili. We just hung out with my grandma, my Uncle Scott, my dad, my wife, just sitting in the backyard drinking beer and eating chili. And then it was off to Olympica Bar here in Shiloh, where I don't remember exactly what I was doing. I think it was a costume contest of some kind, but it all gets fuzzy by the end.
Well, I tell you this, it's Halloween. Speaking of costumes, I'll bet there'll be quite a few little Ken Bones coming up to the door. Am I right?
Yeah, I mean, I hope they don't get high cholesterol from their commitment to the costume. Picking up 100 pounds to dress as Ken Bone is not an easy thing to do.
You're so bad, Ken. The people want to know, are you still not sure who you're voting for in this upcoming election?
I've come to a decision. I'm just not telling anybody who I'm voting for. I want the discussion to continue to be about getting out and voting and making your voice heard. As soon as I tell everybody who I'm voting for, then the discussion becomes about who's that fat guy from St. Louis voting for.
Oh, Ken, I don't think anybody's saying that.
Well, they're not, because I'm not telling them.
Smart. We want to go to some calls here to talk to Ken Bone on our election special here this morning. Our phone number is 866-969-1969. You want to take a call or two, Ken?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, great. Let's start with line 4, and that looks like Steve from Yellowstone. Steve, are you there?
Hello?
Yes, Steve, it's Jim Norton and Sam Roberts, and you're on the phone with Ken Bone.
Hello, is this Ken? It's hard to hear. Sorry about that.
Yeah, Steve, how you doing? This is Ken.
I'm good. I just wanted to know, when you were doing the whole question thing, did you know that you were going to become so famous? I was just wondering if you kind of knew that or if you anticipated that.
No, I thought maybe my local paper would want to take my picture the next day.
I'd rather wear that shitty sweater.
What?
I figured that would be it.
This guy likes to fuck pregnant women.
Oh, come on. Somebody.
This guy
Can you not hang up?
Load.
I think Steve in Yellowstone is having a stroke.
Yeah, I'm going to hang up on him.
Yeah.
This is, I mean, I tell you this, Ken, the magic of live radio. Am I right?
It happens.
Let me ask you this. What did you think of the answers that the candidates were giving as you sat there? Of course, Ken Bone became very famous for being on the debate stage and getting to ask those questions. What did you think of the responses that the candidates gave?
I didn't think either one of them were that bad. I just wish that Donald Trump would have said a little more about environmental protection. I know that's not high on his docket. Right. And I wish Secretary Clinton had gone into a little more specifics about how we're going to transition fossil workers into the renewable energy economy. And it's not exactly the same job. It's going to take a big training program.
Do you think that, with the energy plan, do you think that Hillary was more on point with that? Or do you think that Trump had a better take on it?
Secretary Clinton's energy plan is probably a little more in line with mine. Which is an odd thing to say because I know that Donald Trump is probably better for the coal industry. He's better for my job prospects.
Right.
But, we care about the environment, too. We got to breathe the same air and drink the same water as everybody else.
So you're kind of a long-term guy. You're not looking for those short-term solutions.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to be long-term when you're an elected official and you got to worry about getting reelected in 4 years and you're trying to solve a 30-year problem.
Yeah. Yeah, that's actually a really good point. I think we may have our phone issue taken care of. Honestly, we may have to look at. Did we replace the screener? Yes. Okay. So if you want to call, it's 866-969-1969. That screener's gone. Obviously, he didn't know what he was doing. Let's go to Paul, who's calling in from Schenectady, New York. Of course, here at Jim Norton and Sam Roberts, we're heard nationwide and in Canada. Paul, welcome to the show. You're on the phone with Ken Bone.
Hello. Hey, Emmy.
Yeah, Paul. Do you have a question for Ken Bone?
Yeah, I just think it's kind of the whole thing that's happening. But I wanted to ask, during the debate, did you feel like Donald Trump was disrespectful to Hillary? I felt like he was being disrespectful and unprofessional and talking to her like she had done something wrong when she was at the mall.
Well, bringing out Paula Wilson and the other Bill Clinton accusers might have been kind of a low blow. It didn't really have much to do with the issue.
Ken Bone out of vasectomy, even though nobody wants to fuck him. Ramon! Only an idiot would forge documents to keep a pizza job. Ramon!
Yeah.
He likes to fuck.
Only an idiot would try to keep his job to feed his family. You fuck.
Ramon!
Good for you, Ken.
To the Yellow Submarine album cover.
Yeah, hang up. Thank you. Thank God. Good for you, Ken, sticking up for yourself. Have you gotten a lot of that? Have people been crazy
I got a family to feed, Jim. Hey, are we going to have some actual questions, Jim? I kind of want to go back to bed with my beautiful wife, who is the one who does want to sleep with me.
She does, right?
So I'm going to have to let you guys go.
Well, let me ask you.
All right, thanks a lot, Jim. No, we're done. Have a good one.
That's it? Oh, Ken Bone had to go.
I'm not an idiot. I realize.
Oh, Ken, you're still there.
Schenectady and Yellowstone are the same place. See you, Jim.
Ken, before you go, tell me the. Oh,
why did he hang up?
I don't know. He started to feel like two of the pranksters that got through were the same person.
Oh,
and
well, you can't control who calls in.
That's what I tried to tell him, but he didn't want to hear that.
Okay.
Plus, I think the last one especially, they were bringing up specific instances about, I'm sure Ken doesn't like that everybody knows that he got a vasectomy.
Wait, why? He talked about it, didn't he?
On Reddit, though. On Reddit. Oh. Yeah. By the way, Jim, I need a little help sometimes. You were just sitting here during that interview. Silently.
You were doing a good job.
Question.
The problem is, I did ask a question, but the problem is I'm not going to jump in when it's going well.
Oh.
And it's when that guy calls in, what am I going to do?
Yeah,
I'm not going to, I don't like to interrupt you if you got a good, to be honest, I didn't really know what to ask him. I asked him the one question, but I'm like, all right, what else?
Yeah, politics isn't your...
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm kind of bummed. He's not mad, is he? Because that wasn't...
Why would he be mad?
Yeah, that wasn't.
Have you any times I've gotten yelled at on the phone?
Yeah, I can't imagine. I can't imagine that Ken Bone would be upset by that. Although he did refer to one of the callers that got through as "you fuck." So that was nice. I like that. Yeah, I like that. One of the callers who was criticizing him for insurance fraud. Did he admit it to?
Did he admit to it?
He admitted to it on Reddit. And one of the callers brought it up, and he said, "Yeah, only an idiot would feed his family. You fuck."
Well, did he say that only an idiot would forge insurance documents to keep a pizza job?
Something like that.
That's just
something like that. Wait, so we do have correspondence from Ken Bone?
Yeah, he emailed D-Bag.
What did he? Oh, poor D-Bag. He's not having a good.
This is Derek's big booking.
Yeah, D-Bag asked if we wanted Ken Bone on Friday, and we said we'd love to talk about the election with Ken Bone. What do you have to say, D-Bag?
He said, "Thanks for keeping it classy."
Okay, so that was sarcastic, you think?
I guess so. I don't know what he thought happened there. We can't control the callers, so I'm going to email him back and say I'm sorry. I guess the callers were a little off the rail today.
They're like that all the time, though.
Yeah,
I know.
It's hard to control. We just want to make it an interactive experience, and sometimes it gets difficult.
I'm glad he stuck up for himself.
When he said, "You fuck."
Yeah.
You fuck.
Did you hear that?
I did, yeah.
And I see that. Okay, good. On Twitter right now, we're sending out a nice thank you to Ken Bone. So that'll be good. That'll be good. I'm glad that he's still out there getting through all the riff-raff and rigmarole, and he's getting his message across about getting out there and voting.
Ken's a good egg.
Ken's a good guy.
You know.
Yeah. I would have loved to have asked him about his volume. If you remember, he said the volume of his load remained unaffected.
Yeah.
That was the last question that I had for him.
Yeah.
He unfortunately hung up before I got a chance to ask him about that. But I feel like we got a lot accomplished.
Yeah.
We are back with more Best of Jim Norton and Sam Roberts. Steve Austin, Unleashed.
All right, I'm sitting in podcast in 316 Gimmick Street. I got a computer in front of me. I got a Pearl Bear neon clock, a second hand that's spinning around like a rotisserie chicken in front of me. I got a stand-up comedian, radio personality, one of the funniest cats I know, Jim Norton. On my right, not Sam Roberts, host of the Sam Roberts Wrestling Podcast, along with, hey, you guys got a show together now.
Yes, I'm also the co-host of Jim Norton and Sam Roberts every morning on Sirius XM.
Hey, man, I was reading a little bit about that. There was some soap opera going on down there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Is there bad blood now? What's going on with that, Jim?
I don't even know if it's bad blood or just no blood. We haven't talked. It's so weird. We have not spoken.
It seems like you guys are tight, man. You've been there since, like you said, before we started rolling, 2000, 2001.
Yeah.
A lot of history.
It is, but it's like a marriage. It's like any other relationship you have where it goes bad and then you don't want to talk to the person. Or even when it's not bad, it's just there.
Right.
So we were ready to separate, and to be honest, I'm much happier with Sam, and I think Opie is happier in the afternoon with the guys he's been using. You need to get away. When there's all that tension in the room, it's not fun. This is a fucking fun gig. I don't want to walk into work and be unhappy.
Okay, well, how do you work this? Because you're still touring it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was on your website, so you got some stuff coming up. Because are you guys going every single day?
Yeah, we're every morning. Jim, if he's taking a weekend to go, like last weekend was Philly, right?
Yeah, so I'll be gone Friday.
Right, so like he'll be gone on the Friday, so I'll just take care of things on the Friday.
Will you bring in another guest, or you just sub and just do everything yourself?
I'll start off by myself and then bring in like a comedian, 2 or 3 people just that I know to kind of hang out and do the 3 hours. And it's a Friday show anyway, so it's a little looser. But we, just to keep the show alive while Jim is out there on the road, not only doing himself a service, but doing the show a service by getting in front of audiences and, reminding
I'm just doing them a disservice.
Hey, how did you get on the radio, first of all, with Opie back in the day?
With Andrew Dice Clay. I was touring with Dice. I was his opening act.
God dang, that guy was so funny for so long.
Yeah.
And then he kind of started trying to play to the chicks, and he kind of lost everybody. Now he made a comeback within the last few years.
Yeah.
I was a huge fan, so go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Well, Dice was great to me.
Yeah.
Andrew changed my life. He took me to on tour, and he would bring me in Opie and Anthony. He would say, hey, you got to talk to my opener. He's hilarious. Like, Dice talked me up to those guys, so I did a phoner. I wasn't good, but they were scared of him, so they were nice to me. And then when I started going in, it just became the natural progression. Opie liked me. Anthony was fine with me going in. I was dirty. I talked about my perversions. and they just thought it was entertaining radio.
Entertaining radio?
Yeah, they liked the fact that I was honest and I wasn't afraid. And then once I got arrested, me and Louis Black were on the voyeur bus. We got arrested, spent the night in jail. Yeah,
a bunch of topless chicks on a bus while you're doing the radio show, right?
Yeah, and it was like we weren't even with them. We were just calling into the radio show. And so after me and Louis spent the night in jail, Opie goes, anytime you want to come in, carte blanche, just to come in. So then I started coming in twice a week, and then he goes, come in more, and they got me paid. And then we promptly got fired for 2 years and then came back on satellite in 04.
What is the punishment for driving around the city with a bunch of topless chicks in a bus? I mean, you had to be reprimanded by... You're arrested, right?
We were arrested. We were put
charged with.
That's what the problem was. They couldn't think of anything to charge us with. They charged us with promoting the lewdness of a body. And that was it. We spent 27 hours in jail promoting the lewdness of a body, and the judge was furious. He said, you're wasting their time and you're wasting the court's time.
27 hours in a correctional facility. How did you fare, Jim?
Not well. I was a smoker. I didn't get raped, but I wasn't there long enough. It would have happened. They were fucking eyeing me up.
I was about to say, is a smoker a nickname for something? This one over here, he's a smoker.
Had it been a couple of years stretch, maybe we could have turned into a bad thing. The worst of it was not having your cigarettes.
Not having my cigarettes and having a shit, and the toilets are so dirty, I couldn't shit.
Yeah, I mean, I've only been to a couple of jails, just kind of passing through looking. I've never been arrested in my life. But, back in the old days when I was growing up in Edna, Texas, we'd go down to the sheriff's department. The cops were cool. They'd show you all the shivs and stuff like that. They were then just kind of framed up, and they'd lock you behind the bars. Man, as soon as those bars clacked, I realized that a life of crime was not for me. I'm claustrophobic to begin with.
Oh, you are?
All of a sudden, you shut them bars, mister. I don't care if it's a 10-foot cell, a 5-foot cell, or a 20-foot cell. You ain't going to get out. So therein lies the fact that you're there with a bunch of people. Not so good, my friend.
Now, are you a guy who doesn't like elevators, or are you okay with that?
I'm good with elevators, but I tell you what, being here in Los Angeles a couple years ago, we were in a skyscraper about 27 floors up, and we're going up there, and man, all of a sudden, when those elevators kind of pause a little bit, and you're thinking, okay, this motherfucker's stuck. Or if there's going to be an earthquake and the thing starts wobbling like this, that bothers me. We were over, I think it was right after I wrote The Stone Cold Truth a long time ago. I barely contributed to that book. Jim Ross gets the credit on that. I spoke into a recorder for about 4 hours, but nonetheless, we were promoting that at Piccadilly Square. We got about 15 people in one of those elevators. It seems like it's 100 years old because everything in England is really old. And that's with respect to my UK fans because I got a huge fan base over there, respect. But then all of a sudden, that elevator starts creaking a little bit, and it just stops between the floors. And I'm like, okay, dude, you're Stone Cold Steve Austin. There's a bunch of women, guys. We're just crap, like sardines in a can. And I'm thinking, man, for some reason, I got about to come out of my skin. I'm about to take my shirt off. I don't know what good taking my shirt off is going to do, but I just need some space. Finally, that stomach started moving. The happy ending to the story, Jim, is I'm sitting here talking to you, so I survived.
Right.
But it really freaked me out, and I was just ready to get the fuck out of the elevator. So, yeah, I just don't do good, especially on MRIs, stuff like that. Just don't dig it.
What is the feeling? Because I get weird things when I'm trying to sleep. I'm a very bad breather. I have sinus problems. I have sleep apnea. Sometimes I'm like, I can't breathe. I have to sit up in bed and prop myself in my right elbow. I mean, I can take a deep breath, but I feel like I can't breathe. Is that what it feels like when you're in one of those claustrophobic moments?
To me, it's just a complete lack of, like for instance, if I go into an MRI tube, I'm like this. And I'm not the biggest guy, in professional wrestling ring, but all of a sudden I'm a bigger than average human being. And so when your shoulders are hunched in like this and your arms are down here by your legs, if someone were to put a cap on either end of that MRI tube, you ain't going nowhere because I come from the business where everybody's ribbing you, right?
Yeah.
Or if there's another earthquake, the power goes down, I'm trapped in that motherfucker. So you're helpless. I don't like being helpless.
Right.
So I scared, I just got finished interviewing a Navy SEAL, and he was telling me about this box breathing technique for relaxation. 5 count in, hold, 5 count out, hold without any air, 5 count in, repeat. So all of a sudden I started freaking out when the chick put me in there, and I started doing the box breathing, 5 in, 5 out. By about 2 minutes of that, I squeezed that little bulb. I said, get me the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Anyway, there was a whole other story I told on the podcast of how they was able to get me back in there, required some medicinal things that I went down to the drugstore and get. But anyway, so going back to you guys, how did you guys decide to come up with the show that you guys came up with?
Well, Jim and Opie were doing the show. Anthony was gone. Jim and Opie were doing the show for 2 years, and they decided they were separating. They were going to move on at the end of the contract. They weren't going to do the show together, and they didn't really know what they were going to do. They just knew they weren't doing it together.
Yeah.
And the company first came to me, the guy who runs the company, and said, hey, Jim and Opie are separating. I was like, yeah, I know. And he said, what do you think of this idea? What do you think of you doing a show with Jim? And I was like, well, at that point, I'm doing my own show at nights. I know Jim is getting out of this radio partnership. I don't know what he wants. I said, I'll talk to Jim about it. And Jim and I had a bunch of conversations about, what we wanted to do, how we would do it. We did a few test shows in the morning just because there was some free time, and I had him come in on my night show and just figure out if the chemistry was there, if it was something we could do every day.
Let's see how it feels just talking back and forth for a few hours a day. Yeah, we had to check.
And we had a good time. And then we both realized that we thought it would be bigger for both of us in terms of what we wanted to do if we did it together.
And Sam, I know Sam for 10 years, so he's always been on Opie. We were Jocktober of the radio shows. Right. Sam was always leading the charge. He's been an on-air guy with us for a long time, so we were totally comfortable together. I know he's a funny guy, he's a capable guy, he's a smart dude, so I had no doubts about that. It was just how did we gel, because you have to, if you're going to do radio every day with somebody and you don't click. And that's what happened with me and Opie. We just stopped clicking.
Right.
It just wasn't fun anymore, and we would not look at each other. That lack of eye contact when you're unhappy with each other, like a bad marriage.
That's uncomfortable.
Oh, man, it's awful.
So you guys, stand-up comedian, you're able to talk to
professional broadcaster.
You're a professional broadcaster. Talk to anybody about anything and never miss a beat.
Right.
So on y'all's normal gig, what's this kind of subject matter that y'all like to talk about? Because I know you have your wrestling podcast. Do you try to stay away from wrestling if you guys are together?
Yeah, if there's a big wrestler who's in town that wants to do the morning show, I'll talk to Jim and we'll have him on. Or if there's some kind of story that goes beyond pro wrestling, like if it's a national story.
Okay.
But beyond that.
But what about politics? Election going
everything,
all that stuff?
sure.
We like to talk about the news, we like to talk about politics, we like to keep it topical and talk about our lives that way. But we like to hit more of a show that's going to be something that people are talking about, not a niche of people, not like a hobbyist show. Because I got my wrestling podcast. He's got his UFC podcast. So we got those things on the side, and we can come together and do the morning show that's a very mainstream sort of.
And I like interviewing wrestlers. I know very little about them, and Sam knows everything. But wrestlers are great interviews always because you guys are so good on the mic. It's always a fun time. It's always an interesting talk. Always open.
There's a couple every now and then to leave you hanging, but by and large, most of them got a pretty good story to tell. And I'm glad you reminded me about the UFC podcast. You and Matt Serra.
Yeah,
I completely forgot about that. They advertise that great on the paper.
They do, right?
So how's that going?
It's great.
How's Sarah to work with? He looks like he's a funny bastard.
He's hilarious.
Yeah.
And he's a fucking maniac. Matt comes in, I told Matt, you're such a fucking New York guy. He just is, he won't demand anything, but if it's too hot, he'll be like, it has that air conditioning. He's just that dude, and he's a killer, and he's just a gentle, lovely guy. He's just a sweet guy. Everyone in the UFC loves him. It's like walking through an event with him. Every fighter knows him. I mean, he beat GSP. It's a legendary fight that he fought.
Right.
He's just considered one of the greats.
So what's he doing now? Because I always deal with guys. I just got finished talking with Kurt Angle the other day. I'd read some headline. I was taking 65 Vicodins a day. And I said, man, I got to talk to you about that. So we finally lined it up and we started talking. And, Kurt's looking at the back end of his career. A lot of guys want to go for that last run or that last shot with WWE. Kind of like Goldberg's doing it right now.
Right.
I love it. And so I always look back at guys transitioning out of the wrestling business, the squared circle business. What do they do? So what's Matt doing? Is he training people? Does he have a training center? Is there? I'm not asking for dollars, but is there money in that? Because there was last thing, Jim.
True.
Paul Orndorff had to tell me, Mr. Wonderful, Steve, there is life after wrestling. And I said, is there? He goes, oh, you're damn right there is. And there is. So tell me about life after the UFC.
What he's doing, it's funny, what Matt's doing, he's got two schools, Sarah, I think it's Sarah BJJ, it's called, in Long Island. And he's always bugging me to come train, he's encouraging me to, but I'm like, I can't go out to Long Island. He does Dana White looking for a fight with him and Dana. We'll go city to city. And he makes, I think, a good living from his schools. He goes out, he teaches, he does the podcast, he does the thing with Dana. Matt's a very active fighter. He's very sought after, so people love talking to Sarah. So he's a guy who will always, it's like Chuck Liddell, these spokespeople for the sport who will always have a foot in the door and always be employed.
Plus, he's so sharp and so with it. We had him on the morning show and completely away from the world of MMA, because I'll watch the fight sometimes, but I don't know much about it.
Yeah.
But out of that world, he came in and he was able to take the room over, just shooting the shit with us.
Just a funny guy.
Yeah, funny guy and sharp guy. Like, he's quick and he's just with it in these conversations.
Yeah, he's 100, and he's a really sweet guy too. Like, we have a great camaraderie on the podcast, and you know, he's much more important to the UFC than I am, and he never acts like that. He never feels that way. He's a great partner, and that's important when you're in a partnership, to have somebody who doesn't try to outdo you or be better than you. It's just, what do you think? It's like a real 50-50 thing.
So how long have you been a fan of UFC or MMA in general?
UFC, I think Joe started Rogan would bring guys in probably 2005. And I started watching it after that, like when Liddell was fighting and Mirko Cro Cop and those guys, when he came over to the UFC. But I mean, I'm not like a fan that's like knows everything about every fighter, but it became more and more. The more I interviewed those guys, there wasn't any of them that were dicks. They were all good guys. I liked them all, so I became a bigger and bigger fan. So I would say for the last 7 years, I've been a pretty big fan. Maybe 7-8 years. I've really.
So, do you know what's going on when you're watching? Because I love listening to Joe Rogan call those matches, and you know, I love Brian Stan.
He's great too.
I missed this last month when Joe Rogan wasn't there, but man, he's talking about, hey, man, here's where he's going next, and I've been a fan kind of like you. I really was a fan way back in the day before it evolved into what it turned into, and now I'm just like a super fan. I don't miss any pay-per-views. But when you got Rogan in your ear and he's saying, oh, he's got to go do this to get out, or do this to get out of or he's in a butterfly guard or whatever, and he can sit there and tell the story for me, so I get it. Are you at that level?
No, I can go. He just kicked him. You know, I cannot do
Almost
that.
sprayed water on my fucking MacBook. Don't do that again, Jim.
Joe, I think he's the best announcer in sports, because
I do too.
The anticipation. Here's when Joe convinced me. The first Bisping Dan Henderson fight. Henderson's right is a fucking sledgehammer, and Bisping kept moving, and Joe's like, he's got to stop doing that. He's moving, and then at 30. Pow! And I'm like, that son of a bitch understood the subtlety of the movement. Right. He's so good at anticipating. Yeah, Joe's great.
How about that rematch? It was 7 years in the making, and then at the end of the fight, it looked like Bisping had lost. But while you were watching the fight, I thought Bisping was winning, and indeed he held on to the belt. What were your thoughts after that fight?
I thought the same thing. I was amazed it went 5 rounds. Nobody. It was like Conor and Nate too. No one saw that going 5 rounds. And I thought Bisping deserved to keep the belt. You got to really beat the champion. He had a couple of really bad moments. He was bloody, but I think Bisping overall kept his belt. I was very impressed that it went 5 rounds, though. I mean, the fact that he kept away from Henderson's right for 5 rounds is amazing.
I thought that one time when Hendo knocked him down, took him. Boom, he went down. I just think he almost gassed himself trying too hard for the knockout, and maybe should have been a little bit more patient. And here's me, a retired pro wrestler, telling a legendary guy, my opinion. But, man, if he'd have just held back a little bit, because it just seemed that after that, I mean, he just never had that sense of urgency or the gas or the oxygen to get to the next level to do more damage to Bisping than he was.
I think you're right. I think he was just a little bit tired. He was breathing really heavy, and Joe was pointing that out, how heavy he was. He definitely looked like he was winning. There's a couple of moments where those guys were both just...
Oh, yeah.
Because he's 46. I think Bisping's 37. I mean, that's been around for a while. That was a tough fight. Those guys were both seemed like they had a little bit... they wanted a little bit of a break.
But what a shocker, before we switch gears and get out of MMA, what a shocker when Bisping got in there with Rockhold, and it seemed like Rockhold seemed like he came in and he just knew he was going to win this fight, and pop. Not so fast, my friend, and we got a new champion. I go all the way to England. What a story Michael Bisping has been ever since he's come here. And at first, when he came over, I was kind of like a heel, because he can talk a lot of shit.
Oh, he's great.
Tremendous on a microphone.
Great.
But then when I saw him start analyzing and breaking down fights, I was like, man, I really like this guy, because he's a likable guy. So now I'm a huge fan.
He's so funny, and he is a really nice guy too. Like I've sat next to him at fights, and he's just a really good guy. But he's like, oh, he's a cheating piece of shit. He will talk shit about anybody. Yeah. And I love the fact that he will. Who's another great color guy on the mic is Dominic Cruz does a great job of calling fights, and he's the co-main on the Ronda fight is him and Cody Garbrandt. That's another great fight that I can't wait for.
That is too, but I like Dominic when DC, Daniel Cormier, when they're together and they're breaking down the fights, they're saying, hey, what this guy has to do to win. I'm just a big fan.
Yeah, it's nice. I love watching it, and the fighters are all sweet guys. They're all like really like they're humble. They're nice dudes. You know, they're not quite the interviews that wrestlers are. Wrestlers just have the more mic. They are just better and more outgoing. So I would rather probably interview a guy who's a WWE, even though I'm the UFC fanatic.
But there's a couple of guys that really know how to sell fights. Connor's won, Bisping's won, Kel Sonnen's won.
Cowboy.
Chael Sonnen. Yeah. He's amazing. Cowboy Cerrone.
Cerrone, I mean, he's so laid back, and that dude just wants to fight. Sam, with that being said, those guys being able to talk people into the building also, put on a hell of a show. Talking to pro wrestlers.
Yeah.
Who have you talked to lately that has, hey man, there's a lot more here than I originally thought. One of them, I saw one of your interviews with Ryback, and I came away talking from my conversation with Ryback as being impressed by the guy.
Yeah, Ryback, the first time I talked to him is when he first started talking about all this like positive energy and reading The Secret and all this stuff that he hadn't talked about on TV yet. So that's when I first started to realize that there was way more than I thought under the surface. The trick with wrestlers, though, especially nowadays, is if you really want to get below the surface, you have to either find a guy who's outside of WWE or who's fed up in there, because people are very scared to kind of give a full-on opinion about things. You know what I mean? I see the wheels turning of how is this going to be perceived? What kind of feedback am I going to get on this? Am I saying the right thing? And that's not, as you know.
You're 100% correct, because a lot of times when I'm talking to some of those cats and they're gainfully employed by WWE, you try to have as good a conversation as you can, but with respect to booking, hey man, when I asked Big Show, how do you think you're being booked? Like shit.
Right.
But, he's been around long enough, he doesn't give a shit.
Right.
And Vince is always going to keep him, he's always going to be on time, he's always going to be there, but to your point, hey man, if someone's not being booked right or they're losing too much, they just can't come out here on your show, Jim's show, or my show and just start openly venting.
You know who's a great interview right now, though?
Who?
Daniel Bryan.
I think he's always been a great interview.
He's especially, I find, now, though, because he's blatantly saying he doesn't he's kind of doing what he's told to do because he's under contract, but he said, like, what are you going to fire me? Like, that's okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because he's kind of...
But still, I still think there's a veil that's never going to be lifted. I mean, kayfabe is broken. We all know that. But yeah, to your point, you just can't you can't pry too much.
Right.
And, hey man, give me your honest thoughts on something, or you can get about as honest as they can be with you.
Right.
But it ain't gonna be like all of a sudden we hit the stop button and we'll start talking about shit.
Yeah, I'll let you know.
The whole conversation change into something we can actually really talk about.
I have a question. What does it mean being booked like shit? Does that mean getting bad matches?
Yeah, I mean these storylines or something like that. Oh, hey Jim, we want you to dress up like this, and maybe wear a couple of horns out of your head, and we're gonna put a tail on you, and you're gonna get beat every week. Just bad storylines.
Right.
Go ahead.
What was great, right before SummerSlam, I did an event at Caroline's, and I did a live podcast. First, I had Gallows and Anderson, which was great. It was a great interview. Then I had Kevin Owens after them that same afternoon. And both those, we did like an hour. Both were great. And both of those, I came back with this sense of the best interviews, especially from people like that, are like, man, why isn't more of that on TV? Like, especially the Gallows and Anderson interview. That, and I would hope anybody that listened to that is thinking, why isn't that on TV?
Well, see, then that's my big thing. I mean, just like the question I asked Jim, just talking to those MMA guys, UFC guys, they're doing pro wrestling better than pro wrestling's doing pro wrestling, just because I just think and I don't want to be critical, but WWE, man, their whole universe, it's their cameras, it's their ring, it's their product, it's their stuff. They can make any rule they want. And so back, I want to say in the Attitude Era, because my favorite time was the mid '80s, NWA, WCW, World Class in Dallas, before it was on the downhill, all that good shit that Bill Watts was doing in Mid South Power Pro, serious shit, right? And a blinding Junkyard Dog when the Freebirds did that, all that kind of good stuff. Just in a serious light. That's what I mean. Because UFC's done in a serious light. Hey, somebody can say something funny, someone can talk trash, but it's presented in a serious light because it's a shoot sport. Wrestling is supposed to be, it's based on a shoot sport.
Suspension of disbelief, right?
Yeah. So that's why, NXT, I love those pay-per-views because they're presented in a real fashion. Corey Graves and another guy do an outstanding job of staying within the storylines and just keeping everything tight. They're not selling anything, no apps, no bullshit. It's all about wrestling, and I'm able to immerse myself. Jesus Christ, I've been in wrestling business since '89. I've been out since 2003, but I'm still a fan. I'm still a wrestler, retired, but I still want to believe. So when I watch NXT, I'm like, I can buy into this, almost like the good old days of the '80s.
So you're still, it's amazing. You've been out for that many years, and you're still like a centrally named guy in wrestling. It's really like odd to see somebody it's like Liddell in MMA. I equate it with that. Like you're always going to be one of those guys that just seems to be talked about whenever wrestling is talked about.
Man, it's been a good thing to be able to do the podcast, and I got in 3 years ago, give or take, and it was a nice outlet for me. And the fact that so many people listen to the damn thing is a blessing. But like I said, I'd never want to bury anybody on the show, and if you can kind of light a spark under someone every now and then, just to help them, but you just don't want to trash people.
But I'll tell you, people are listening because speaking of the Kevin Owens interview, I was talking to him about all the trash he talks in the ring. I said that's one of the most entertaining things is that you're running your mouth the entire match. And he said that he met you in an airport as a young man, just a big Stone Cold fan. He had just started wrestling a couple years ago, and you told him to just keep running your mouth when you're in there. Just keep going.
Yeah, I remember that. Man, I was about halfway haggard. We'd been on the road for a pretty good while, and I'll never forget that. And I've forgotten most of my career. But I think Sami Zayn or somebody was traveling with him at the same time, and he was telling me about some of his moves that he does. And, he asked, I think, if I had any pointers for him. I said, dude, just learn how to run your mouth. Keep running your mouth.
Do you ever, find young comedians that are looking for advice, or encounter young comedians that are don't really need your advice because they think they know it all, and I'll
get a lot of emails from comedians asking for advice, or they would call up and ask, and I'll always just tell them the basics because I don't know they might not be funny, so I don't know them. But yeah, it's pretty simple. This is what you should do if you want to succeed. Like, this is the business side. If you're funny, do this, and this, and it will help. But yeah, anyone that wouldn't want, I wouldn't offer it though to somebody unless I knew him. Or unless we were having a weird moment. If I was having a weird moment in an interview, that's a little bit different. Then you do what you got to do, especially if a guy's being a dick.
Not to switch the subject, but a weird moment in an interview. I just got finished talking to Jesse Ventura. He was here in a crib the other day. And I know in '09, y'all had a little bit of a beef, and he walked out. And then, I don't know, did you guys ever get back on the radio together?
No, Jesse walked out very angry. And there's a video.
I was talking about the Constitution stuff.
Yeah, and 9/11. And it was the video doesn't tell the story because the video, Opie only had X amount of memory on his video, so he was taking little snippets. But the entire audio interview, you could see that Jesse was kind of being a little nasty to me. Not horrible, but just. I didn't agree with him on this, and he was
discrediting you a little bit instead of saying, "Well, this is just a guy who doesn't agree with me."
Right,
but he was almost saying your opinion doesn't count.
Yeah, but of course, I respected that he's a Navy SEAL and a military. Right. Of course I did. So we had that big fight. He said, I'll never come back on the show again, and I'm always okay with whoever wants to and whoever doesn't. We saw him recently, after we interviewed Chris Kyle, and that whole Chris Kyle, I knocked Jesse out thing came from our show. Opie was actually informed about that, and he asked Chris, was it Jesse? Or I forget how, and he goes, yeah, it was Jesse. O'Reilly gets it. And then O'Reilly runs with it, and that's how it became giant news because Bill O'Reilly got it. But we had it that morning. And then Jesse, I believed Jesse. When I heard his explanation on Alex Jones, I even said publicly, I think Jesse sounds like he's telling the truth. He sounds like a guy who is not lying when he says this.
Right.
So we wound up sticking up for him in a way, even though we liked Chris. We had interviewed him on the phone as well as in person. Then he gets killed, and the whole lawsuit happens or continues. So Jesse came by our studio not long ago. It was me and Opie, and I was right after he got the judgment. And Jesse just opens our studio door and goes, he was a liar, and he closes the door, which was funny, you know. And then people told him at one point, you know, Jim actually said he did believe you. I don't have it out for him, so I don't think he likes me or respects me, and I get it. Would I talk to him again? Sure. But I mean, I don't like when somebody, if we're having a discussion and we disagree, I'm not going to poke Jesse physically. So if we're having an argument and he does something really alpha to me, that really gets me angry, and I'm willing to take the consequences of it. But I'm not a tough guy at all. It's like one of the things, like I don't like that energy from someone when I'm not trying to give the other side of that energy. Like when he was leaving, he goes, "Thanks for your service," and he pats me really hard. And I knew what he was doing. Like, you know, if you were talking to a guy and he looked at you a certain way or he poked you, you would say, "I know what you just did."
Right.
I couldn't prove it in court, but we both know what you just did. So that kind of really got me angry, and that was why I said something very rude to him on the way out. But I wish we didn't fight, because I do like the guy. I don't have any hatred for Jesse Ventura.
Man, I always dug Jesse because, first of all, I was a fan of his heel commentary work. You know, when Vince had the idea when he had the pulmonary embolism and had to retire from the ring after only 10 years. And I think that was a silver lining in a dark cloud, because that's where his true genius was. You know, you give that guy a microphone and he's gold. And when he came over here, man, I'd watched I don't know how many interviews, but I knew every Jesse loop. I knew every Jesse story. And because he was promoting Marijuana Manifesto, I knew which ones to keep him off of, because everybody else had done got those same stories.
Yeah.
So I was able to do that. Now, he'll get one or two in on you, but he's just a really smart guy. He's very well read, and he does the conspiracy theory things, and he's highly intelligent, but he has that voice. And when he believes he's right, I mean, that's just all there is to it. He believes he's right. Because I could go back and forth with him about certain things, but that was not my agenda on the show.
Yeah.
We shot the breeze, talked wrestling, pushed his book, and it was wonderful.
He said some things that we'd interviewed him 3 times. That argument we had was the third. And the first time we didn't really click. Second time we got along great, and then the third time we had that argument. But he said some great things, like about how in the United States that you're rewarded for bad behavior. I forget what he was talking about, but he's made some really smart points, and I really enjoyed listening to him, except for that one thing that we disagree with, and I have a big mouth and I just couldn't shut up about it. And I heard Howard's interview with him, and Stern did a fun job with him because he just kept asking, and he's your guest, let him talk. So maybe I should have debated it, maybe I shouldn't have, but most of the feedback from people was, when 9/11 is a weird thing for people, so they liked that I debated him on it. However people feel about it, Jesse has a lot of fans, so I got a lot of blowback and a lot of hatred from Jesse Ventura's fans. He's certainly a well-represented guy. I mean, people love him, they respect him, so I'd still get a lot of hate from that interview, but it was fine.
Sam, you're about to jump in with something.
Well, I was going to say, I don't know if you know this, but we've only been on the air a month, and we've already had our first walkout interview storm out of the studio.
I saw that.
You did.
I saw it.
You did.
Don't. It was Nancy Grace.
Yes.
What happened?
Yes.
I started watching it because I wanted to get ready for you guys. The thing happened so fast.
Yeah.
You know me, Sam. I do my homework.
I
didn't get a chance to do enough homework on you guys. But, yeah, I saw her walk out. I didn't understand what she was getting hot about.
Well, we go the guest booker, because both Jim and I on our separate shows have spent a lot of time saying unkind things about Nancy Grace on the air.
She blocked me on Twitter. She's like one of the only celebrity that blocked me on Twitter. Oh, I give her
I'm
a
about
beating.
to throw this neon clock through the window. I can't believe it. Damn it.
So our guest booker comes up to us one afternoon and he goes, "Would you guys take Nancy Grace on the show?" And Jim and I look at each other like, yeah, we would take her. I mean, why would she walk into that
Will
studio?
She do it?
Like, yes, the answer from us is yes, but there's no way. And he was like, all right, she's coming in. We're like, all right, we don't think so. Up until the day, we were going, there's no way she walks through that door. Up until, so we didn't announce it because we didn't want all our listeners on Twitter smartening her up. No. And so she walks in, and immediately, I think with a quote from one of our listeners was, "Hey, idiots, it's not supposed to be bad cop, bad cop." because we just started hammering her as soon as she walked in on all the stuff that she's done on her TV show, on the stuff she did. I brought up all the wrestling stuff she did that the DDP and the rest of them got so mad about. We brought up all the stuff she's done to exploit the dead kids and everything.
I felt I had to mention it, though, because I beat her up on Twitter, and I'm like, I can't be such a pussy that I'm like, I hate those keyboard. Like, if I said it on Twitter, I wasn't going to be nasty to her in person, but I said, I've had problems with what you've done.
Yeah, you were very frank and very calm about it.
Yeah, I felt I'd be a liar if I didn't, and a fake if I didn't. And it's like, what kind of tough guy just tweets at somebody, and then when they're in the room with you, doesn't at least say, "Hey, look, I've said this stuff."
Right.
Man, I didn't quite understand it. Did you guys follow the goddamn, what was that? The Stephen Avery case. It wasn't Stephen Avery.
Making
case.
a Murderer. Brendan Dassey.
Brendan Dassey. Yes, Brendan Dassey. Man, I mean, they set that kid up.
That's exactly what I was thinking about when you were talking about the claustrophobia of jail. Like, when I think about it, I don't even think about the physical claustrophobia, but just like when you talked about that bar, the bar clinging, and you know it's locked, like, you know you're not in control of when it opens back up again. And if you saw that thing on Netflix, listening to that kid say, am I going to get out in time for 7th period because I got a project? And you know that's 15 years ago, however long ago it was. And from that moment, he wanted to get out that afternoon, and he still hasn't gotten out.
Well, they finagle him to saying, you know, if you say this, you can go home.
Yeah.
And then they detained him and said, you know, he said something about going to WrestleMania or some wrestling event.
He did. He said he wanted to watch
weeks.
WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they set this kid up, and man, those dirtbag, what's his name? Len. I can't remember his name.
The prosecutor?
Yeah, well, no, not the prosecutor, but the guy.
His attorney.
His own attorney.
Len
Kaczynski, Len something.
Wow,
that's
good,
that.
good call.
Whatever.
Yeah, Glenn Kaczynski.
The blonde guy, right?
Yeah, I think that.
Whatever it was.
Yeah.
And then to make up that story about well, obviously there's a horrific act on this mattress. Where was the mattress? It was always in the house. There wasn't no blood on it.
Right.
So, you know, if it was a made-up story, what the fuck's going on here?
Right.
So now, I guess state of Wisconsin doesn't want to let the kid out. But evidently that lady, the lawyer I'm following on Twitter, who took up that case and got it.
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember her name. But anyway, that was the whole clusterfuck.
Yeah, there was like a federal appeals case that said yes, but then still on the state level, they said no way.
I don't know what the right thing is either, because you watch the documentary, and then when you hear the prosecutor, because they made the prosecutor seem like the bad guy, and then you hear him interviewed about all the physical evidence that they didn't include in the documentary. Like, there was a lot of Stephen Avery DNA, like his sweat under the hood, like all kinds of shit the documentary left out. And with Dassey, I'm not 100%. I don't know the answer.
Right.
There was something about he had jeans with bleach on them, and there was a big bleach thing where they had cleaned up blood in the thing. It was a bunch of stuff, and I'm not well versed.
A lot of shit that was left out.
Oh yeah, the documentary left out. They made it look like there was one drop of blood. I do think the cops threw the keys down. I do think they planted to get him. But when you look at all the evidence,
do you think Stephen Avery, after doing how much time he did for being falsely accused of that first gimmick, would do something to put himself back behind the bars?
I think he did it. I'll tell you why. Here's why I think he did. First of all, he threw a live cat into a fire years before. And he was jerking off watching women. He was a bad guy. He had called this woman from a block number a few times, because she had come over one time, and the woman who wound up dead, and she thought he was a creep. He answered the door to towel. She didn't want to come back and see him. She didn't like him. So he called her from a block number. He got her back to the property. Then all of a sudden, whenever she's gone, he calls from his number and goes, "Hey, are you coming?" Almost like putting an alibi in. Documentary left all that out. They left a lot of stuff out.
They are doing another set, right?
They should do more.
I think they're doing a season 2 or whatever it's going to be called, with all the evidence that they said wasn't there.
Well, the blood explanation I read too, and it was like they made it look like that was so ominous. But if you remember, there was really no great follow-up to it. There was a couple of possibilities. And then when you read, like, no, it's very common. That happens all the time with blood samples. And his perspiration was found under the latchkey, under the hood.
Man, it was kind of gimmicky when they found the car. It just had little gimmick branches. That was the worst cover job I'd ever seen in my life.
Right.
If they had access to all the stuff, why wouldn't you crush the car, kayfabed it, and that means hide it, stash it away?
Yeah.
But then again, there never was the bloody mattress where this was allegedly supposed to have happened.
Definitely.
I subscribe to the theory that it was committed off premise, brought back over. I don't know if someone did.
It may have been.
But then again, I mean, he stood to gain. What was the payoff that he was going to get from the first thing?
Yeah.
It was in the high millions of dollars, and all of a sudden, boom, the girl's dead. I'm sorry, I don't mean to disrespect the woman who was killed. I just can't remember her name.
But the Dassey story, too. I mean, you watch that thing and you see
that kid
they
was
were
set up
tricking
like a
him
bastard.
into confessing and having him sign things and doing all this stuff. He didn't know what was going on.
The prosecutor, I want to interview the prosecutor because when you hear him talk, he knew he was painted as the bad guy, and he's more than willing to come out and say everything they left out.
But he's a scumbag, though. I mean, he's got charges against him.
Yeah, charges. He was a jerk off. He was texting dirty to some. Fair enough, but all that. But just because you're shitty and you're a pervert doesn't mean that this guy. Because they found her cell phone, they found all this weird stuff in the fire pit. I think the documentary left out. There's a lot more evidence found, physical evidence, than the documentary mentioned. And I was like, why would you guys? It's a fascinating story, no matter what it is. It's amazing. This guy went to prison. He never should have went to prison. Even if he did kill the girl, fascinating. If he didn't kill the girl, fascinating. They didn't need to leave any evidence out.
Maybe they didn't have enough time to cover it in their 12 hours or whatever
it was. I know, literally, they were showing flights in real time. They didn't need to do that. So it's a fascinating story either way.
So what brings you guys out to Los Angeles?
Well, we're doing the morning show out here from the SiriusXM studios.
Well, tell us the time of the morning show so that the people that listen to my show will know when and where the morning show is on.
8 to 11?
8 a.m. Eastern, yeah. 8 to 11.
I said 8 to 11. I don't know how to plug my own show. I really stink. I'm an ass.
Yeah, 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern on XM 103, Sirius 206, and it replays a couple times during the day. And, yeah, it's Monday through Friday. So we're doing it.
So tell me about the creative process for you. I just got finished. It was a few months ago. I had Bill Burr on the show.
Oh, we saw Bill today.
Yeah, we did the show this morning. Yeah.
Oh man, I went and saw him at the Comedy Club over at Hermosa Beach. I thought my head was going to explode. Me and my wife were laughing so goddamn hard.
It's so amazing.
And you know the thing about was, just like you, all of a sudden you get backstage with him, or like when he showed up on a podcast, I just thought he was going to riff, and he'd like kind of like go off.
Yeah.
No, you're just a regular human being. But boy, when he hits the stage, whole different thing. So what's the story about you trying to create new content, or how do you go about the process and fleshing out a joke, or going through the process of, hey, this is some good shit here?
Sometimes I'll write stuff down. Other times I'm at the Comedy Cellar most nights. I'll just go on and go like, man, the Trump-Hillary stuff. And it's a weird, it's almost like you can feel it, like it's like a smell. Like when there's a smell in the room, you can't identify it's there, but you can't pinpoint. Like that's how I am with thoughts for jokes. So I'll just kind of go on stage and just start talking about something and then see where it goes. I let myself do that to keep it very natural. I think radio trains you for that because you're so used to it being off the cuff every day. And then it starts to formulate into a joke. It's really fun, though, when all of a sudden you click and you know you're being funny and you're hitting.
And you're just kind of riffing.
Yeah, and then it becomes a bit. And then, okay, boom, that goes in the act. Boom.
Right.
You just keep building and pushing the old shit out the back door. It's like squeezing someone's head and they're just shitting. That's the way my act is. You're just squeezing all the old stuff.
So how do you separate, like you've written, 2 books? Or working on a third?
Yeah, you know, it's funny. I started writing within the last few months. I wanted to do a 3rd book, but I did specials in the last few years, so all my writing was going into stand-up. But
so that's my question. I mean, like what's the difference between writing a book, because are these like halfway, autobiographical?
Oh, yeah, very.
Okay.
Talked a lot about hookers and a lot of stuff in my first book especially.
And so that's just a completely different gig from, boom, it's for the routine.
Yeah, it's weird. It was like blogging in a way because we were off the radio when I wrote that first one, so I couldn't get it out. I couldn't talk about it, so I had to write it. And I wrote a little bit recently, and it felt so good to do, but I have to write in the moment when I'm feeling something. I can't go back and recapture very well. So if you're feeling something, like I'll talk it into Siri, unless he's around, because Sam's a piece of shit. Whenever you're talking into Siri, he says things and he ruins it. So you have to you have to actually physically type when you're around Sam. But I would talk it out, and I'll talk out a lot of stuff. And what I've written recently in the last couple of years, I've written some stuff for Time.com. So that was more serious stuff or opinion stuff on the language policing. To write funny stuff, I want to do in my book. I want it to be fucking funny.
So did you go to college?
No, I'm a high school dropout.
And you were a sociology major?
Yeah, in Syracuse.
God damn it. So where comes this need to create?
I think it's just probably self-hatred. I don't want to look at it's either that or the mirror.
But you always hear me being, a wannabe comedian, or just a guy that just really looks up to stand-up comedians who can make me laugh or whatever. A big Mitch Hedberg fan.
Oh, yeah, sure.
But you hear a lot of times that sometimes comedians are kind of miserable people.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Chris Rock had a good quote about it. Chris is such a smart guy, and he was talking about comedians being unhappy. He goes, they say ignorance is bliss. He said comedians notice everything, and that's why we're miserable, because we look for everything. You look for every wrong thing, every wrong innuendo, and you notice it, and you make a mental note, so it's hard to feel good when you can't not see things. And I don't think it's a smart thing. I think it's just the way our brains focus on things. But a lot of comics are miserable, yeah, because this conflict is funny. Like conflict, like look at the great sitcoms. What happy marriages, married with children, all in the family. It was always shut up. That was funny. You know what I mean? Eat them like any other elephant. You didn't want to see Ralph and Alice get along. You wanted conflict.
Right.
So conflict is funny, and that's kind of what comics focus on, is conflict. I think that's what makes it funny to me.
Does your comedian background help you with the interview process?
I think a little bit, because I'm comfortable.
Are you yes and? Are you groundlings? Are you just...
Oh, no. You mean like an improver?
Yeah. Or just with respect to having a conversation.
I think so, yeah, because I'm comfortable. I don't feel pressure to be funny. I'm comfortable just chatting. I know something funny might come out. It's okay if it does. It's okay if it doesn't.
How are you with hecklers during your set?
I don't mind them, as long as... I hate when they step on a line. Like, I don't care what they yell. But when they're like when there's a pause... and they yell something because they just want, we love you. We talked about this with Bill.
Yeah.
You're great. It's very rarely nasty.
Yeah, but you fucked up my joke.
Yeah, dude, your timing.
Yeah. God damn it.
But you guys get the hecklers. I remember one of the first wrestling matches I went to see, I saw Sergeant Slaughter wrestle somebody, and I forget who he wrestled, but it was like in a high school gym. And I hated him so much. And I didn't have the courage to say anything to him, but he's walking through and people are screaming at him. And I'm like, the shit you guys got to put up with is a lot worse than comics do. I mean, you get people really angry at you.
Well, that was back in the old days, when you get like shooting heat, like real heat, and people are just like, the business hadn't been exposed as many times as it had been. Or even when Stossel and, Ronald Rivera did his thing or whatever, you could get heat. These days, Sam, talk to me about, because you're knowledgeable enough, even though you're a young cat, you know of the stories. You talked to so many guys who had shooting heat, who got stabbed, cut, gashed open, versus trying to get heat. Now, how much heat can a heel get these days to the way the business is structured?
I don't think it really can. Like the only real heat that exists, it comes from good guys who are being forced. Like Roman Reigns gets more heat than anybody, and he's a good guy. I think that the fans have all become so smart, or their interpretation of smart. You know what I mean? Like they consider themselves all so smart that anyone who's great at being a bad guy is going to get cheered. Whereas before, even when you were going, right, it would be this slow, natural progression. Like Stone Cold was a real bad guy, and then over time, people just appreciated him enough. Now, if you're really good at being a bad guy, it takes you 2 weeks, and everybody's cheering for you. Like Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho, they can't do the show properly, especially Jericho, because all that happens is everybody cheers for Jericho and his catchphrases and everything, and he's supposed to be this ultimate weasel villain.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I don't think that era...
It's harder.
Yeah, it's way harder. And there was this kind of romantic era of, like you said, guys literally would start riots, and they'd have to get snuck back into the dressing room and stay there for hours, because otherwise there's going to be real violence.
But I think the wrestling fans are, I love them, and they can do whatever they want to. But now I think what they do is they're watching the show, they're watching the guys and the gals go through their paces, their storylines, their angles. But they're more so, because they're so smart, they're judging the writing.
That's exactly right.
So the writing's getting the heat rather than the talent getting the heat. When, I'm not going to walk out of a Tom Cruise movie going, God damn, those fucking writers really fucked me. No, they made Tom Cruise was badass in that fucking movie.
Right.
But here they want to say, the writers are doing this, or they got to push Roman, just watch it happen. Forget about the writing. Just go back into suspending your disbelief.
I went to one of the pay-per-view where they did Chris Jericho and Dean Ambrose in the cage a few months back. Yeah. I went to that pay-per-view with a Hollywood writer who didn't know anything about wrestling but was working on a wrestling-related project, so he wanted to be familiarized. I was like, come with me. I'll show you the whole show and explain everything as it goes. And that's what blew his mind that I was trying to explain. He's like, well, why are they booing that guy? I go, they're not booing that guy. They're booing what they think the creative team that they're all aware of is making that guy do. They might like that guy, but they don't like that guy reading those lines because they think that guy should be reading the lines that they want him to read.
Are they playing along in a way by booing the guy? If the creative team wants him booed, or they're booing against the creative team?
They're booing against the creative team.
Okay, that makes sense.
And then it seems like, from a fan's perspective anyway, that then the creative team or whoever's in charge over there, whatever, sticks their heels in the sand and just goes, no, we're going to do it my way. And then the fans go, no, you're going to do it our way. And whereas there was a time where they'd kind of bend a little bit and go the fans' direction, but then grab the fans once they had them and said, okay, now you're going in our direction. Now it's just two opposing forces.
Would you get booed when you were a heel? Would you get booed?
Oh yeah, when I first came in, long story short, I wrestled for about 7.5 years, and then in Atlanta, started off in Dallas and went through Tennessee, and then I had an injury in Japan. I fucked up my arm. I got fired, so I worked for about a few months with Paul Heyman in ECW, and that's when Vince called me, and he pitched me this gimmick. They were going to call me the Ringmaster, the Master of the Ring. Ted DiBiase was going to be my manager. So it was a bad idea, but it was a foot in the door.
And that's the way you saw it even at the time, right?
Yeah. So I knew it was a pile of shit gimmick, but okay, now they actually are pursuing me, so I'll go. Before they'd never pursued me, just saw me as a mechanic, and so I just said, hey, I'm not going to go there. And that's when I came up with the Stone Cold Steve Austin thing. But when I first started the Stone Cold Steve Austin thing, I came up with a name, came up with being from Victoria, Texas, where I used to live. But then you remember my debut stuff. I mean, I was laying my shit in. You couldn't see through anything. And I was talking so much shit, you just couldn't deny it.
And there'd be no playing to the audience either.
No.
No playing to the audience.
It was straight up. If this table we're podcasting from is square, just like a ring, all I'm paying attention to is me and you, and here's a referee, Sam, but I'm not trying to get a look or go to the crowd or get a fucking response from them. I'm getting my response here.
Not even
by beating somebody's ass.
And it was great because it wasn't even like the bad guy thing. It wasn't even like he beat up the good guy and say, "Hey, how do you all like?" No,
that's pandering.
Right.
You're every time you do something, it's a lot like stand-up. It's like I was talking to Bill Burr about a few months ago. The gigs are so similar because you throw out a joke or put out a line or whatever you want to call it. You do something in the ring to elicit a response. Based on the response, you proceed accordingly. And normally, back in the old days, you're making these decisions on the fly. Some of it's mapped out already, like a routine maybe. But all of a sudden, you lose them. Okay, let me go here because they're not buying this. And so you shift gears in the ring. So you're always listening. But yes, to answer your question, yeah, people were booing the shit out of me, but then all of a sudden I started getting kind of cool, and I was still vicious, and I was talking so much shit, and that's when Vince took the filters off, and Brian Pillman had just came to WWF, and I'd be working with guys, and I was the heel, and I was getting cheered more than the babyface was when we went out to the match. And as soon as I walked back through the curtains, there was Brian Pillman. God damn it, kid, you're a babyface. And, you take being a heel or a babyface, a bad guy and a good guy, very seriously in that business because you're trying to be either or, not both. And I said, fuck you. So I'm a heel. Well, I was turning. So organically, I don't want to talk about my story too many times because people have heard it so many times, but we did a transition match at WrestleMania 13 many years ago, myself and the one and only Bret the Hitman Hart, in which I entered that match as kind of a guy that was still a heel, but people were starting to like me. He had been around for so long, and he was a legend, but he was kind of pissing and moaning a little bit. So they were kind of turning on him a little bit, although he was still the overwhelming fan favorite. I went to the ring first after Ken Shamrock was a special referee. That was a great attraction. Ken was wonderful in his role. And then I'm out there, and I get a pretty positive reaction, but some boos. And then here comes Bret, almost all cheers. And over the course of 20, 25 minutes, passing out in a pool of blood. And then, Ken challenges Bret Hart to a let's go. And Bret backs down. And that kind of further cemented Bret's heel direction. So we had work to do on the backside of television to get us both in the roles. And it wasn't like they automatically said, okay, Steve, just because people are cheering you, now you are a babyface. We never said I was a babyface. Jim Ross was smart enough to give me backhanded compliments, or I don't know why they like him, but also they just transitioned my opponents. I started working with heels rather than babies.
Right.
And so that's how that worked. But along the way, I became just a cemented hardcore babyface. But in the formative years, I was a heel getting heat.
He was also, and not to blow smoke, but he was also such like a change from what was going on. Like you would have loved like the old promos, because they went from like Hogan, very cartoony, very sort of family friendly, to like Steve jumping on a microphone, and when he's like challenging Bret Hart, he just jumps on and he goes, you know, he's Bret the Hitman Hart, and he goes, if you put an S in front of the word Hitman, you've got exactly what I think of Bret Hart. And nobody's heard anything like this before on wrestling.
But I mean, it's kind of like, I mean, if you look, look at kind of what stand-up has gone through. I mean, you had guys, you know, your Lenny Bruce's, guys that are early guys like that. But you know, when guys like God dang, I just had his name on the tip of my tongue. Sam Kinison came along.
Right.
All of a sudden, you've got all this standard fair delivery, and all of a sudden, he's yelling, he's angry. Well, he's a former priest or reverend.
Preacher, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that guy was dynamite. But it was just different. It was a different presentation to me. I guess mine was just a different presentation, but mine was serious, hardcore, straight up. Hey, man, this is real. The fight you and me are about to have is real. So, and that's the game we were playing.
Yeah.
The presentation has just changed over the last few years.
I think Rodney told Sam to do that. Like, he was doing his yelling, but I think he would do it as part of his act. In Dangerfield, when he did the special, he goes, no, do that.
Really?
Open with that. Like, be that guy. I think he actually convinced him, like, doing Dice was just a part of his show.
Right.
He was Andy Clay. He would do all these impressions and do all this stuff.
Yeah.
And there was like, no, just be Dice.
And then it becomes revolutionary.
Then it becomes
What
revolutionary.
happened with Dice when he kind of started playing to the women? Because that's when things didn't go so good for him. And then he made his comeback. What did that do to him? Because you know him real well, right?
Yes.
Did that just take him to a psychological low?
I think he was just, I think a couple things. One, the feminists sunk him. Like,
Right.
don't forget, on political correctness, and Colin Quinn pointed out, they should have been going after rap a lot harder. Like, they went after it, but a lot of that was focused on Andrew. So the feminists ruined a 3-picture deal. He had done Ford Fairlane. My Cousin Vinny was written for him, and they gave it to Joe Pesci because they just paid Dice off to, like, fuck you, when he was getting the death threats for the gay jokes. So I think that he just went into a different direction just to comedically explore it. I'm guessing he got a little bored. And Andrew's a goofball. Like, he loves to, he would go on stage sometimes and just see it like in a club and see how long he could talk without getting a laugh. Just to do it.
Just as a goof?
Just to fuck around. Yeah, or he likes to fuck with people. So I think that he was just trying something different.
But Andy Kaufman was like that.
Yes,
He'd go
was.
out there and just do shit that was so random or off the wall, and people are like, what are you fucking doing?
Yeah.
And then out comes the genius of Andy Kaufman.
Yeah, and I think Dice would do stuff like that. But I think that it was probably less fulfilling for him because it didn't feel as honest for him.
Right.
But like any comic, he dipped down, but his acting is so good. And then he's come back up with Blue Jasmine, was fucking amazing. Dice is a really good actor, and he's
and the Showtime series is great.
the Showtime, and he was great in Vinyl. Did you see Vinyl? He was in 2 episodes of that.
Yeah.
Oh, he was fucking phenomenal in that.
2 questions. Who influenced you, and who do you like now?
I mean, growing up, it was Carlin and Pryor and Robert Klein. I think Robert Klein's very underrated. Right now, I love watching Colin Quinn, Dave Attell, Chris Rock. Those guys are just great. I mean, I think my favorite comic to watch is Colin Quinn. I don't know if you've ever seen Colin do stand up.
Well, I love his voice.
Yeah, he just kind of blathers through things. You pick up half of it, but he's really brilliant,
Right.
and he's the best at dissecting human relationships. Patrice O'Neill was great at that, but Colin, we all agreed, was the best at dissecting human interaction. He was really great at it, so he's my favorite.
Did you ever get into Mitch Hedberg? Because that guy was so, I won't say if random is the right word, because I want to put him over, but just his delivery, his cadence.
Yes.
Everybody talks a little bit different.
Sure.
And just the way they rope in a crowd, like Carlin, a mastermind, him and Pryor, two of my all-time favorites. Hell, Eddie Murphy back when he was doing stand-up.
Amazing.
But just the way Mitch would phrase the way he delivered a joke.
Yeah. Mitch was very unique in that, and he's a guy that you see a lot of guys doing, like guys like him, David Tell. Like David Tell goes, okay, and there's an Attell cadence. Mitch, yeah, that whole laid back thing, or the way he would phrase. People do that now, and you're like, that's a guy who liked Mitch. Mitch was very unique, and he was not praised as a tremendous hero a lot of times. It took him a long time. The Comedy Central tour with Attell and Lewis Black he did really helped him. Mitch was so funny, and he's a guy who influenced a lot of comedians. A lot of guys.
What was it like the first time you got up on stage, and when did you decide? I mean, were you funny as a kid?
The only thing I ever did well. It was the only reason girls didn't spit on me when I walked by, so I could make them laugh. The only thing that kept me getting beat up by big guys was that I could embarrass them. Like I couldn't fight with them, but they knew that I could make them laugh and I could make them look stupid. In high school, that's everybody's greatest fear is being. So they would leave me alone. So 1990, I wanted to try it. I was 21. I was dropped out of high school. It was all I ever wanted to do. It was fucking weird. Hearing your voice over a mic was weird. I was terrible. I was dirty. So that was what got to me was how I wasn't being funny to people. They didn't think I was very funny the first time I was on stage. I stunk.
Yeah, I know, but it takes a lot of guts to do that. So you kept going back. You got your chops up.
Yeah, I don't know why. I used to root for shows to get canceled. I'd go back and I'd be like, I hope that no one shows up so I don't have to do this tonight.
Dude, I've been there.
Yeah.
I've been there. Like, maybe they'll send the wrong ropes like they did in Phoenix one time. We won't have to work.
Oh, isn't that great? Yeah.
Yeah, true story. They sent the wrong ropes. We didn't work. It's like, oh, okay. Because right when, like I told Bill Burr, right when you think you're getting the hang of things, maybe you're in the business a couple of years. Hey, man, I got a pretty good routine, or I'm a pretty good worker, and all of a sudden you go out there and you shit the bed, and then all of a sudden you have like a week's worth of shitty matches. Like, I thought I was getting this.
Yeah.
And it turns out maybe I'm not as good as I thought I was.
Oh, it's the worst. When I'm up there, and even today I'll have my nights where I feel like I'm just a stiff little fucking fruity robot boy saying nothing funny. Nothing's coming out funny. Nothing's coming out smooth. I'm like, you're a fucking fraud, and they can all see it. Oh, it's the inner dialogue you have when you're on stage. There's so many times I'm just talking to myself as I'm talking to them.
But are you spinning up when, like I said, when I was talking to Bill Burr, and he made me laugh my head off. My wife and I go backstage, and he's back to the Bill Burr that was on the podcast.
Sure.
He's a normal, rational, very smart human being. But he hits that stage, man, and it's almost like he would be like if it was Stone Cold Bill Burr. He's stone cold out there, and then when he goes back, it's the same thing in the dressing room. I go back to being Steve Austin.
Sure.
Are you a different creature once the light goes on and you got a mic?
A bit more, it's focused on you a little bit more. You're more like, it's an exaggerated version of yourself, but I'm not that much different. I mean, I'm telling the truth about a lot of things I do and have done. So it's a bit more of a high energy of me and more of a focused on only trying to say funny things or make to a funny point. But no, it's not that much different.
Where do you draw the line on how crude can you go?
You're asking the wrong guy, Steve.
Well, I always say this: if cunt is the first word of the joke, it can't be the last. It's either or.
We're back with more best of Jim Norton and Sam Roberts.
There she is, Nancy Grace.
Thank you for having me.
Hello.
Thank you for being here, Nancy. Welcome to Jim Norton and Sam Roberts.
And that would be.
I'm Jim.
That's Jim Norton, and I'm Sam Roberts.
He speaks.
Yes, he does.
We're live. How are you this morning? You all right? You good?
I'm happy to be here.
You are?
Yeah.
You're, how do you feel about leaving HLN? Because you've been there for, what, 12 years?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? It's bittersweet. I know that's a cliche, but it really is because I never dreamed growing up on a red dirt road in the middle of nowhere, as some people would say, that I would ever have a show on HLN.
Mm-hmm.
So it was beyond anything I'd ever really dreamed of.
Did they ask you to leave or did you want to leave?
I wouldn't say that I wanted to leave. I felt like it was the right time for me to leave because I'm leaving behind a lot, but I'm going to where I want to go.
And I had, I'll be honest, I had a problem with you for a long time because I felt like you were capitalizing on tragedies. And I'm sure you were accused of that before. Were you capitalizing on this stuff?
As a crime victim myself, I guess it's the way you look at the world. I invite crime victims on and tell stories from their point of view. I help find missing people and help solve unsolved homicides. Now, from your point of view, you would say that any news report, say on ISIS or the hurricane or car crash, air crash victims, is all capitalizing on misery. So that you're singling out my shows, interesting, but I think inaccurate.
I know what you mean, but I wouldn't say that just reporting on it, because it's fair. You have to do it. Victim advocacy for victims is important. All that stuff is good. What I'm saying is things like the hashtags like Tot Mom or Pot for Tot or whatever. Those are beyond just, hey, I'm reporting this and I'm trying to get to the bottom of it. It's almost like I'm making this kind of a catchy thing so people associate me with it.
Because hashtags cannot be sentences. And I don't know if you're familiar with digital media, but you can't have a hashtag that is over a few words long.
Right.
So what we tried to do is take a story. And I brought this really from my law school days, where I would have to condense a very difficult and convoluted case into something simple, and did with juries to break down complicated and convoluted facts and give it to them 1, 2, 3. That's how I look at cases. I usually come up with a moniker. And for whatever case it is, it could be the scenario, it could be the defendant, and that's what I call it. Oh, the Army mom. Oh, the Ohio serial killer. Like that. That's how I identify cases.
Could you see that the like hashtag baby and dryer could be looked at as trivializing something that would otherwise be tragic?
Yeah.
I hear what you're saying.
Right. But you don't see it that way.
No.
And the Duke, we have to ask you about the Duke rape case, because look, I thought those guys were probably guilty too. When I first saw it, it didn't look good. But then you went after them pretty hard, and then Mike Nifon got, I guess he was disbarred, and you didn't, or did you come on and clear it up? And I just thought it was.
Well, if you read the transcripts before you asked me the question, you would know that there was no point that I ever said these guys are guilty. Although it's been commonly and very happily portrayed that I did.
Mm-hmm.
Also, when one of the accused came forward and gave a statement and spoke to the press and may have even answered questions, but when he spoke to the press, the camera came to me and I said, that is the state's worst nightmare, because I think that guy's telling the truth. He looks like he's telling the truth. Now, you left that out of your scenario.
Well, I asked
which
you
I completely understand.
But I asked you about it. I didn't leave it out purposely. I didn't know it. So I asked you.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Well, how about this? You did get sued and lose. If you want to paint it that way, you
sued and lose what?
Didn't you lose to Michael Skakel for or have to settle that?
I can't give the result, but I would not consider that a loss.
But it was settled.
Mm-hmm. By CNN. Yes.
Okay. Well, then I have to ask you that. I mean,
and I would like to point out that Michael Skakel was found guilty of murder by a jury.
Yes, he was.
And that on our show, a reporter said there was DNA on the scene. And the lawsuit was not about whether he was guilty or innocent. It was about, was there DNA on the scene?
I know. So, it was not about his guilt or innocence. He was found guilty. I know that.
Of the murder of a 15-year-old girl, Martha Moxley.
Is there anything that you regret the way you did cover? Like, is there any, like, looking back, do you go, you know what? I was wrong about that, or I fought too hard on this side and I ended up being wrong, or I was presenting all this evidence that didn't actually fit the case at the end of the day. On television, of course, I'm talking about.
No, not that I know of yet, but I haven't really had time to reflect back.
On everything.
Yeah.
You took a lot of heat, too, for the report that you did on, remember when the Ultimate Warrior died? And you brought on DDP, the wrestler, and you were talking about wrestlers dying of steroids and drug overdoses and things like that, when steroids weren't involved in the Ultimate Warrior's death.
No, they were not.
And on the people that you listed a whole bunch of wrestlers that had died before they were 40. And some of the wrestlers that you listed, one of them had fallen from the ceiling. One of them had been shot. Like, there were all these guys, all these names.
Oh, I don't think it was ever said that those guys died from steroid overdose.
No, but you said that there's you said
early deaths
you established the
and untimely deaths.
But you established the argument that there's drug abuse and steroids. Then you said, here is a list of wrestlers that died young. So you didn't say that's why they died.
I really believe that professional wrestlers are not protected. I think that everybody gets a big kick out of watching them.
Mm-hmm.
And whether the wrestling is real or not, people love watching it. And I think that those wrestlers, those women and men that go in the ring are not protected. I don't think anybody is ever looking out for them. And I think that they're used badly.
So if that was your intention, and, of course I can believe you on that, you're telling me that, what goes through your mind when a lot of wrestlers see your report and come back at you with venom saying, you're not representing us, you're not telling our story, and this what you're portraying isn't what's happening? Because that's the way...
Then I'm sorry they feel that way.
Most wrestlers responded. And that's, the wrestlers that were on your show, Diamond Dallas Page, who was on your show, was furious. I don't know if you remember about...
I do remember.
About, coming on your show.
And
he said he came on false pretenses.
A perfect gentleman. He could not have been nicer. And I don't want him to feel bad. And I feel bad that he feels bad.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact remains that in the wrestling industry, there is a very high occurrence of untimely deaths for a lot of different reasons. And I feel that it's the industry's fault.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think these guys and women, but mostly guys, are the ones dying inordinately young. I don't think that they are told all the risks of what they're getting into.
So when the people that you advocate for, when you're saying this, like this is your intention to advocate for these people, when the people that you're advocating for come to you and say, we don't need you doing that for us, we don't like what you're doing, don't do it.
I've rarely had that happen.
It happened in this case.
Yes, it did with that wrestler. He did not like the way the show went.
And most wrestlers that watch that, especially
I disagree with you.
I talk to wrestlers all the time.
I know you talk to wrestlers all the time, and you have talked to several wrestlers that said that.
Right.
But that does not mean most wrestlers. So
a huge
the fact
amount.
that you have talked to some wrestlers that said that.
Right.
I hear you. I respect that. And I'm sorry they feel that way.
But
I really don't know what else you want me to say.
But you're not, don't you, like you mentioned the news tie-in. And there's a weird line with public service and reporting something, and when it becomes, hey, this is the thing that I can associate myself with, and you're kind of denying that fact.
Okay, let me just set it straight right now. I'm sorry that you guys clearly don't like what I do. I feel bad about it. So, there. You obviously don't like me. That's okay. So, I'm okay with my show. And I'm okay with representing crime victims. And it's like the two of you are just so anxious to throw a shot at me. That's okay
it's
too.
No, Nancy. It's not throwing a shot at you. It's not.
As I was saying
not throwing a shot
before
at you.
You interrupted.
But it's not. But you're saying something inaccurate. I'm not throwing a shot at you.
Don't mind. And I'm sorry the wrestlers feel that way. But the truth is that a huge amount of wrestlers die at a young age for a lot of different reasons. And that is what that screen was for. Now, if you or somebody else interpreted it a different way, I feel bad about that.
So no one's throwing a shot at you when saying that.
It's okay. Don't worry about it.
I'm not worried about it.
You haven't asked one decent question since I walked in here. Everything both of you have asked has been an attack.
Not an attack.
Okay.
The question, the things that people see. Now you can't. Now you're so used to victim advocacy. I should probably get advocacy out. But you're feeling like a victim because we're asking you questions.
I don't feel like a victim.
Well, but we're not attacking you. We're not attacking you.
And they are
okay.
And they are decent questions because people care.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
These are things that people talk about and don't necessarily get the chance to talk to you about. So to say they're not decent questions, I don't know if that's wholly accurate.
I don't think they really care about.
That's not true. We're gonna. I actually watched. I watched your clips last night. You're playing an attorney. I will promote what you're here to promote.
Absolutely.
It's called Haley Dean Mystery Murder with Love, and it premieres Sunday, October the 23rd on Hallmark at 9 p.m. It was a scene with you playing. It's kind of like a Gloria Allred type attorney, it seems, and it was good. What I saw was good. I watched it last night. We only got 3 clips, and that was what I saw.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome. But don't feel
parting
attacked.
Shot. Anybody? Bring it on.
No, there's no parting shot.
Yeah.
It's fair for someone to say to you.
It is fair, but it would also be fair if you had a different question other than an attack. But you know what? Again,
Nancy,
I
you've made
face a lot worse
you
than
see,
you
again,
do.
this. No one said you haven't faced worse, and no one is saying that you. We're
Do
not
you have
attacking
any
you.
more questions?
How do you justify latching on to all of these hashtags and things without saying that you are capitalizing on dead kids?
So you're back to your first question.
Yes,
Okay.
but I would like a
I'll
more honest answer. As a prosecutor,
I'll give
you should know
another
that
honest answer.
people bullshit.
And the answer is my program is to help solve unsolved homicides and find missing people, which we have done. Now, if you don't like that and you don't like the way I do it, then don't watch it.
I like what the answer you just gave.
I think our time is up. Bye bye.
Take care. You can leave if you want. Don't worry, we're not going to kill ourselves after the interview.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Nancy.
You're welcome.
For stopping by.
That went better than I thought it would.
I didn't get to ask her
Bye.
about Titty Boy. 2 Chains.
Oh.
Nancy Grace, ladies and gentlemen. Nancy Grace.
Hold on for the interview. Now listen.
How else was that going to go, though?
I don't.
And by the way,
we had to do that. Like, how do you not do that when? Look, how can you say that when she said, "Well, that's you"? You would say that reporting that. And if I don't mention that to her because I've bashed her on Twitter, then I'm a liar. I can't sit down next to her and just ask her about her thing without
anybody
being honest.
anybody in this building, honestly, that does an interview with Nancy Grace and just plays it straight and just goes like, "So, what's it like to play an attorney after being an attorney for all these years?" She's done 12 years of controversial TV, of capitalizing off this stuff. Two people she's interviewed have killed themselves after her interview. She completely fucked up the Duke lacrosse team.
What?
I just like the way you ended it.
Yeah, that's why Jim said we won't kill ourselves after the interview. 2 people have done that.
Well, it's like, don't take that whole tough as nails. Are you gonna like that? That's please.
She's not a victim.
No.
And
I would like to have asked her. Sorry to interrupt you. I would like to know her what got her into the law, and I wish I didn't dislike her, or what would, because I am curious as to her fiance was killed. I think when she was like really young, and that's what kind of got her into the law, which I would have been curious to hear about. I don't know the details of that.
But you don't.
But to deny that I'm latching these things to kind of build my own profile, it's just dishonest.
And you don't go on television every day. And she single-handedly, I would say, she single-handedly is responsible for turning the Casey Anthony case into a national case.
Tot mom.
Yeah, you don't do that strictly for advocacy. You do that because now it's the same reason people on Court TV did what they did. The OJ thing was good for Court TV.
Yeah. By the way, baby mom is 1 letter longer.
Than Tot.
Yes.
And she's like, we didn't even get into the...
I would never walk out of an interview. Like, literally, I've been in... When I had to go in, and again, this is much different, into the... you just gotta... Like, no one cursed at her or said, fuck you,
No, we called her on her shit, is the thing. And it's like, if you go on... and you're going to say things like that. Like you look at her clips on YouTube.
Yeah.
She obviously did things for sensational reasons. So it was like, oh, we got to watch this because Nancy's going crazy today. Nancy's talking shit about this or that. And it's like, you have to be able to back it up. We didn't even get to talk about have you seen the Elizabeth Smart clip? When she won't leave her alone about getting abducted, even Elizabeth Smart has to tell her 5 times over the course of the interview, please stop asking me about being abducted. And Nancy's just pretending to be her friend. Well,
in a weird way, I have to kind of side with Nancy. What the fuck else you had to ask Elizabeth Smart about? So what'd you think of the
Yankees? But it's like, if that interview goes any other way, it's very dishonest completely. I can't imagine anybody having a friendly 20-25 minute chat with Nancy Grace. And when we accepted the interview, we were like, yeah, we'll take her if she'll come in.
I was surprised she came in. She probably again, but I'm a liar if I don't acknowledge that I've had a problem with her. I can't.
You told her she blocked you on Twitter.
She did.
Yeah,
but she did. So it's fair.
She goes, do you know how digital media works? And you go, no.
Yeah, I like to tell her she was, but she look. She was also. I wanted to get to it, and again, I don't know the she was a prosecutor, and she. at least a couple of times there was accusations of misconduct. I don't know if it was true or maybe that's just what was written on the internet. You know, again, I'm not going to say she did that. But yeah, there was a lawsuit in the Skakel case, which okay, they settled.
Yeah,
but
they settled that case. They settled both suicide cases.
Oh, did they?
Both of them got settled out of court, which is like, you know, it's not just grand coincidence.
She's not a dumb person, and when she said something like you would equate reporting on ISIS, it's like no. I really wouldn't. No. A genuine report on something is the media's job, not, you know, Tot Mom is not the same as breaking news suicide bomber in Greenwich Village.
Right.
They're different intentions. They're different things.
Right. Right. I'd love to know what the vibe is outside in the hallway.
I mean, come on. What do you want us to do with her?
Yeah, I can't.
I don't feel bad about that.
No.
And I actually did watch her clips, and as much as I do not care for Nancy Grace, the clips I saw were fine. It's not a bad movie. She was fine in it.
And by the way, I don't have any problem promoting something she's doing if she will come in here and answer real questions.
And in fairness to her, the publicist she was with, the guy she was with, he just put her book down at one point, and then she's like, "These guys don't care." I was like, "No, I'm going to promote what you came here for. I'm not going to not." She wrote a book called Courtroom something. I don't know the name of it, but
she took it with her.
Yeah, she should have left it.
She didn't leave you a copy.
We didn't take photos.
Ah, shit! I didn't get a Nancy Grace photo. How great would that have been if we did a fucking nice interview with Nancy Grace and then told the audience, "Sorry, I know, but we really wanted a photo at the end of it." Let's go to Tony in Montana. What's going on, buddy?
Hey, fellas.
Tony!
I was listening along.
By the way, to everybody who's like tweeting and stuff about they're tired of Jim snorting, he's not snorting.
Who's tweeted that? Not one person.
I've seen it many times.
I haven't.
He's hitting the snort button
of
on
course.
his soundboard.
Watch this. I'll just keep talking right through it. See?
Go on, Tony.
Yeah, no, I was saying I had to give you guys a call because I love the unflinching way that you just kept coming back at her. And Sam, the question that you asked her, which she said, looking back on all the various cases that you covered, all the times that you jumped to conclusions, all the time that you pulled the whole guilty before proven innocent sort of attack, and she couldn't come up with one.
That's the thing. It's like okay. Here's no attack question. Here's just a strict be honest. Think about everything that's happened. There's been a lot of controversy. Do you regret the way you did anything? And when it's a no, it's like, all right, well then go fuck yourself. You know, like.
Yeah. Well, she's argumentative by nature. She's argumentative by nature, being a prosecutor, being the type of show she does. She handled that worse than I would have thought. Because, we asked her questions. And so, yeah, look, how do you not understand that people think you're fucking capitalizing on dead kids? I know you're a crime victim, and I do respect that. But a guy like John Walsh, who's also a crime victim, handles things a lot differently. And I never got the feeling, like he was literally having people put in jail. I didn't get the feeling that he was tabloiding it up. You know, I don't know. It's just a different energy I got from him.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And also, he didn't even get mad when some fucking asshole called him the name of his decapitated son.
Yeah.
You know, so that's a good guy.
Yeah.
I see here that
Did
Nancy...
you feel bad when your dad met him and said, you don't know how lucky you are?
There is a silver lining, John. Apparently Nancy left pissed off, and the rep said, you guys didn't even talk about her plug until he brought it up because she left. She left 10 minutes into a 25-minute interview.
And tell the rep I would never not plug. And I did watch the clips. And when I said that she's playing this person, and she was good in it, I wasn't being polite. Like literally, she was. I'm not going to let the fact that I have a problem with her personally. And I know why she was annoyed, but that's the truth. I saw it. It's on. You watch it now. If you don't like her, just watch it to hate her. Whatever reason you watch it for, watch it.
By the way,
wasn't bad.
I literally have pro wrestlers texting me going like, thank you.
Really?
For saying that, yes.
Hope it's Hulk Hogan. Want you to come over.
Just installed a new security cam, brother.
Yeah, come on over here, Sam. I'm going to rip your asshole apart.
Shane in Indiana.
Fuck yeah, that was fucking awesome.
Piece of garbage. You heard what I said?
Wow, that was some great fucking radio, boys. I enjoyed it. I was expecting like a big shit box like the fucking train you had in, but that was fucking killer.
Yeah, look. Lisa, oh yeah, I forgot. People didn't love Mia. You know, here's why we had Mia. First of all, I like Mia, but wasn't like we canceled the guest to have Mia Isabella on. They said you want her in. We had nobody else yesterday. She's been in before, and she's a part of some like tabloid stories recently, so we chatted with her.
Yeah.
We didn't do a whole hour of porn. So what happens on the set? We just talked to her, and people liked it, and some people didn't.
Right.
So whatever, guys. Every guest is not going to be a home run for you, but we're trying to be.
I thought she was interesting, and for every 45 minutes we spend getting inside the mind of a tranny, maybe we'll do a 10-minute walkout with Nancy Grace.
Absolutely.
Like, that's a nice trade-off.
That's a fair balance. But thank you, sir. I appreciate your call.
Let me go
you little silly goose.
Let me go to Dan in Cleveland then. What's going on, Dan? Welcome to Jim Norton and Sam Roberts.
Fuck that bitch.
All right, now let's not get to name calling.
Yeah.
What I didn't get is when you asked her about the Duke trial and how when she was sued, and like if you're found fucking innocent, you're not gonna be like, I'm not gonna talk about that. Like,
well, the whole
you're
thing
like,
with
I was found innocent. Next question.
And again, I don't know every fact of it. So when she said you left that out, like that annoyed me so much because I would have just said, "Oh, okay, I didn't know that."
By the way, you're asking a question. There's no left that out. It's like, here's the question, and we're allowing you. By the way, if you notice, there wasn't a lot of interrupting Nancy Grace. There was a lot of dead space because we were giving her as much room as she wanted to explain whatever she wanted.
Yeah.
You should have asked why she's such a cunt.
All right.
You
that
know,
was actually...
sir, look, that was a question on the list. But
Allegedly.
Allegedly. Why are you such a cunt?
Yeah.
That we didn't, unfortunately, we didn't get to it before she had to leave.
Victim advocacy. I can't believe I couldn't get that word out. Advocacy.
Because you were excited.
Victim advocacy is important, and it's great when it feels like it's not capitalizing. And a lot of people have accused her of that. And I'm one of them. And I think that's what she does.
Do you think she'll unblock you on Twitter?
I hope so. I want to open a dialogue.
David in Tennessee.
Shouldn't you guys maybe butter her up first?
We buttered her. I gave her one butter up.
Yeah, I
question.
said good morning.
Yeah, I mean, there's not like honestly.
You started out with "I do not like you."
No, you know what, dude? It's not about. I don't like to be rude to a guest like that. I really don't, or to come right out. But with her, I've been very public with not trusting her motives. And I'm a liar if I don't address that up front. It's like I can't not address that. I didn't want to address it rudely. I tried to say, like, I've had a problem with you, because otherwise I'm being a fucking fake.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's not... The problem with the buttering up...
So I'm sorry
to
anybody who liked Nancy Grace, but there's no way to do
Nobody
that.
likes Nancy Grace.
But you know what I'm saying. There was no way to do that.
I think that when you have a guest that's as big a scumbag as she is, it's like you can do a little bit of buttering up, but the first question that I asked was a butter up question.
Yeah.
And after that, it's like, we know our time's going to be limited anyway.
Yeah, exactly. I was surprised. Honestly, and again, as a prosecutor and as an ex-attorney, she's certainly not a dummy, and she's certainly slippery in a verbal debate. You know, she's not a fool. But
I'm surprised she didn't stick around and
on, of course.
pound us into the ground if she's this great prosecutor.
We weren't hitting her that hard. Like, it wasn't like, you fucking bitch. You were like, Jesus Christ, that sent you out of the room?
Right.
Ugh.
Like, hey, let's ask you about the things you've done.
You goose. We got Riz Ahmed we should bring in shortly, too. But we can do this for another couple minutes. This is fun.
Yeah, I'll take another call. We'll take a quick break, and then we'll get to Riz at 9:30. We have him at 9:30, or he's out there now?
Oh, I thought he was out there now.
Yeah, 9:30, right?
Are you sure he's out there now?
I'm sure.
Oh, he's out there right now?
No, he's not out.
Oh, 9:30, right?
Roland said he was.
Roland says stuff.
Did he? Let me check.
I just talked to Spencer, told me 9:30.
9:30.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
he said if Riz is available.
No, Roland's standing by a computer. He's not.
What's Roland doing?
Standing by a computer.
Roland's probably all worked up because we just had a guest walk out. Huh?
Oh, okay.
John in Minnesota.
Hey, what's up, guys?
What's up, buddy?
Hey, just wanted to say she was hateable from your butter up question. You asked her, 12 years, and she's like, well, I grew up on a dirt road in the middle of fucking nowhere.
Yeah.
Cliche after cliche after cliche.
I never thought a country girl like me would become the big Hollywood star that I am.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
And then...
all right, way to flipper, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, buddy. I'll talk to you later. Let's go to Patrick in New York. You're on with Jim Norton and Sam Roberts.
Hey guys, what's going on?
What's up, buddy?
Yeah, listen, I was
I actually literally had to go on Twitter to see if you guys had a picture of her. I'm like, there's no way this woman's coming up to come on the show. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Nancy Grace? I'm like, this has to be a work.
Dude,
I didn't believe you guys actually had. She walked in, and I had to go and saw the picture, and then I was like, oh, wow, it's her.
Jim has trashed her on the air and on Twitter so much that she's blocked him. I've trashed her on the air more times than I can count. I mean, we just did it like a few weeks ago. We were trashing her on the air. So
I guess it's a good thing that it's a brand new show. They didn't have a lot of background on the new names.
Yeah,
so maybe that's how come she got on.
I was surprised she came in.
We disguised ourselves so well with the show name too.
Yeah,
nobody's gonna know who's on this thing.
More best of Jim Norton and Sam Roberts right now.
Sebastian, welcome.
Good to see you.
How's it going, man?
Good.
Sebastian Maniscalco in studio here on Jim Norton and Sam Roberts. What's going on, man?
What is going on? Just flew in, and I'm in New York City.
Yeah. yeah, you are.
Are you doing a gig or are you just promoting?
I am doing Colbert tomorrow for the first time. So I got a special right now on Showtime that's airing, and just doing a bunch of promotion.
How long since I haven't seen you in years.
I was just thinking about that as you walk by. I haven't seen you. By the way, you look great.
Thank you.
I didn't know you lost all this weight. I haven't seen you in a while. Since maybe the Dice Clay years.
And that's got to be 2004 maybe, since we did a gig together?
Yeah, I didn't know. We were in Vegas together, and you and Jim had opened up for him multiple times prior to me doing it. So I didn't know the whole Dice thing of like you go to the mall.
Oh, so you had to do the whole thing.
Yeah, I didn't. You go shopping.
Yeah,
I'm in Vegas with Dice, and I'm like, this is gonna be great. We're gonna go to the pool. We're gonna go to nightclubs, and he's like, no, we're gonna go shop for couches. I'm like, what? So yeah.
It's very disappointing, isn't it?
And didn't he make you buy like XL hoodies to match his?
He's got the weirdest idea of friendship. He's such an odd guy. I love him. Like, he changed my life.
Oh yeah.
But how long did you tour with him for?
2 years, and we would do this XL. Like we would go to Harley Davidson. That would be his spot, and he'd just go, take it. I get the pro deal.
That's right, the pro deal.
You remember the pro deal?
I certainly do. Yeah, Dice would just go in there and steal.
He would.
Because for $10 million, he's just stealing fucking hoodies.
So what'd you do? You just go in the store, you put it on, you walk out.
I wouldn't do it.
I didn't do it. I said, Dice, I can't do this. So, we had a lot of good times together.
Yeah, he's a fun guy, man. Yeah. He's a really fun dude.
Doesn't he love sweets?
Oh, my God. You ever go to a candy store with him?
Oh, man. Go to candy store, go work out, and then we go get a Slurpee. Should we be drinking like a protein shake? So,
I think the best stories, too, are that he goes into open houses and just runs up and down the steps and shit. I mean, it's just crazy. But this is what happens when you don't drink. You know what I mean? Like, if you're not on the road drinking, what else are you going to do?
Right.
You got to find other shit to make you happy and make you feel good about.
Ridiculous shit.
Yeah. But he would do that. You'd work out, and this is before I worked out, and he would have fucking Kenny or Happy Face, and they would have to have a giant Starbucks with the whipped cream and the extra mocha chips. He would fucking extra mocha. He's really draining. And he would have this giant chocolate treat afterwards.
But any calories he burned working out, he would just immediately get them back.
And add. You can't work out and have a fucking 1,800 calorie beverage. But he was a fun guy, man. And you learned the crowd. How did they treat you, the audiences? I always had decent success with them.
It was tough. It was one of those things where I got actually thrown off a little bit, where I ended my set early and I came off, and he wasn't happy at all. He's like, what are you doing? No matter how bad it's going, you finish your time. So, it was like...
Why didn't they like you?
He wasn't Dice.
It wasn't Dice. Yeah. It was. I got out there, and it was a hostile crowd. They wanted to see him, and it threw my act off and timing off. And I got off a little bit early, and he set me straight. Which I learned, like I said, I learned a lot. Working with him and his crowds and touring with him. So yeah, it was a great experience.
Yeah.
When did you start to get established to the point? Because I was watching your Comedians in Cars with Seinfeld last night, and like just listening to Jerry talk about the fact that you're one of, if not his favorite comedian. Like he goes to you when he wants to laugh. Like at what point did that stuff start to happen for you?
I don't know. I mean, I met Jerry about 1.5 years ago at Gotham Comedy Club in here in New York City. We became fast friends and asked me to do the show. And yeah, I'd say about maybe 2 years ago, things started like that started happening. I've been doing it since 1998 and just kind of working in the clubs and working my act out and, you know, doing stand-up. And yeah, I guess about 2 years ago, things started to kind of kick in, I guess.
Sebastian really has his own audience, though. Like they're not necessarily even just comedy fans; they're fans of his. It's crazy. But I was just telling him the ex detectives that we have that work security here.
Yeah.
Last night they were when I did Kreischer on Mass. They all come over and they're like, "You know who's fucking coming in tomorrow, right? Sebastian Maniscalco's going to be here. I'm going to try to meet him." And I'm like. They didn't know who Kreischer was. They don't know who all these comics are, but they're fucking crazy about him.
How did you respond to that? Like after all these years of just, you know, club, and just trying when you kind of blow up.
It was the Showtime special, right? The first one that really began it.
Yeah, you know, that Showtime special definitely, you know, got the ball rolling. People started to share my comedy amongst their friends. I have a big Italian following, so it'd be like a couple would come and then they would bring their parents and then they would bring the neighborhood. So, you know, they just get a swell of people starting to come to the show because they're relating to the family upbringing, you know, immigrant background, and it was very familiar to people. So I guess that part of the comedy community was a little bit underserved as far as like family and stuff like that. Not that I'm the only guy talking about family, but in that sense of being very specific yet very broad.
But you're also clean too, so people can bring like you can bring your parents like that, and you got a guy like Gaffigan too who appeals to that, where you can bring whoever you want. You're like, I'm not going to ruin this relationship. Yeah,
but also I think there's people that like Sebastian that they think the world's a little screwed up, but they don't know exactly how to articulate it. You know what I mean? Like they feel like they did some things right, and now they look at the world and they don't get it. That's what they get out of him. I think they feel that he's saying what they wish they could say.
You think that's right?
Yeah, you know, it's observational.
Or do you not think about it too much?
I don't even think about it.
Right.
You know, when you articulate it like that, I guess you're right. I mean, it's just observational, looking at the world like we all do, and kind of reporting the news on stage and saying it in a way that I don't know. I tend to do a lot of physical movement too, so I don't know. I don't know what it is. It's just a lot of things that I never really thought about, but. It's nice to have the police department on your side.
Especially those guys, because you get away with murder. But how did that? Were you working clean when you opened for Dice?
Yeah, you know, I'd swear, you know, here and there, but it's, you know, I'm not talking about a lot of sexual activity or anything like that. It's just kind of, you know, basic. Hey, I went to Home Depot and this is what I saw, or my wife is doing X, Y, and Z.
When you're touring with Dice and you see what Dice is doing, and then these fans are being hostile, is there a part of you that's like, oh man, I gotta have dirtier stuff in my act? This is what people want. What I'm doing isn't what people want.
No, I mean, no, I didn't do that. I said, this is my act. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. I didn't adjust it to the environment. I said, you know, this is what I think is funny.
Right.
If these people think it's funny, that's great. One night, I think it was in a casino in Washington. They weren't having it.
They didn't like it.
Well, there's no way to adjust your act from like Home Depot and family to I'm gonna come on your face and look like you put your head into a frozen yogurt machine. Dice really is a genius.
Yeah, he told me. He told me he's a genius.
That's a funny fucking line. Oh, yeah, that's right. You interviewed him. Yeah,
a couple times, and he's very well aware. Like that wordplay, he loves that shit.
Dude, that when he said that put your head into a fucking it's like a frozen yogurt machine, I'm like, gee, what a brilliant way. He always finds a new way to be filthier.
Yeah.
It's always different.
Do you take your openers out shopping with you because that's the way you came up?
You know what? I'm not a big social guy. On the road.
You don't need the entourage.
No, I don't bring a guy. I use kind of like a local guy.
Oh, you
in
do?
that city. Yeah.
Saves you money too because you don't have to put them in a hotel and a fucking airfare and buy their dinner. Smart.
Yeah.
Sebastian's smart. I'm a dope.
No, I get that. Like bringing a guy who you might get along with with or a girl you might get along with. I get that, but I don't know. When I'm on the road, I can tend to be a little bit of a loner and not want to have to hang out with somebody for lunch or anything like that. And
What do you do? Are you with your wife, or do you travel by yourself, or with your manager?
My wife and myself. So my wife will come to the New Yorks, the Miamis of the world, and we'll enjoy the city. And
Not the Akrons.
Yeah. So I got married about 3 years ago. So my wife and I are very tight, and she enjoys coming with me. And she's an artist, so she's got a flexible schedule where she could do that.
That's great.
How did she react to you kind of blowing up? Because you said it was like 2 years ago that things really started to blow up, which leaves you. That's not the person that necessarily she married. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because life changes.
Yeah, life changes. We've been together 7 years, but my wife is involved with my career. She kind of takes the lead on the creative, the design stuff. If we have to do a DVD cover, if we have to do a backdrop for a stage, she's heavily involved in that. And we've always kind of been the same couple, but now we just have a little bit more activity around us. So
Right.
it's still good.
So
go ahead.
When you have somebody open for you, do you make sure like, okay, I want the guy to be kind of clean? Like, you don't want some fucking dirt. You know what I mean? You don't want someone.
What are you looking for, Jimmy? A couple new dates?
Well, no, I do have, but no. It depends on how much time he needs. If anything over 4, I'm going to let you down. I give you 4 good clean minutes and I'm finished. I start repeating jokes.
No, I don't. Whatever the guy does.
Oh, you don't care?
That's
Okay,
fine.
yeah.
That's fine for me. I don't edit him, or I don't say
Sure.
you can't do this, that, or the other thing. I just kind of get the best guy, whoever's working
Sure.
in the area, and I look at some tapes. I go, yeah, no, this.
Oh,
guy's-
you actually watch the
Did I
tapes?
just say tapes?
Yeah.
Because it's 1989.
I look at his videos. I say, yeah, this guy's funny, or this girl's funny. Yeah, bring her on. So yeah, no, I mean, I don't like to have like a really dirty guy.
Sure.
But whatever they're doing, and I think it's funny. Let's do it.
Have you ever had an opener that didn't work where you're like, I got to get rid of this person?
I've had an over where I said maybe we're not going to use this person again.
Sure.
But we just don't call again. But as they're doing their thing, it's I'm kind of always listening to see. I want the person to do good.
Sure.
We want to do like a good show. People are spending a lot of money.
Right.
Of course, this comes from my father, who is actively involved in my career. Every time I come back to Chicago, he's, like, hey, people are paying $89 a ticket. They want a good show from top to bottom. The opener wasn't so good, so, we got to switch them out.
That's a good point, though. People want the whole fucking thing to be good. You don't want the guy in front of you tanking.
Yeah, hey, I always thought the person was supposed to be really good to kind of get the crowd going, and then you go out and do your thing.
Do you care about the Cubs?
I'm going to the game.
Oh, you are. Okay.
I'm going to. I'm a Sox fan, but World Series and Chicago Cubs, 71 years. You got to go, right?
Which game are you going to?
I'm going to Friday and Saturday.
Have you ever been to Wrigley Field?
Once.
I went once and I almost shat my pants. I had to leave because I was doing a comedy festival, the Chicago Comedy Festival. It might have been like 2000, and I'm there and I'm watching the game. And by the third inning, I had like a bunch of coffees, and I'm like, it's time to go. And I had to rush back to the hotel. And
You did?
shit. Yeah.
You can do it in the stadium?
No, it's disgusting. Stadium bathrooms. No, you don't shit in the stadium bathroom ever.
Would you shit in the stadium bathroom?
I've never done that.
No.
I'm not a big stadium guy.
Right.
I don't do a lot of sports events, but if I had to go, I think I'd pull a Norton. And
That's what we're doing in Norton. Kids, get in the car.
That's what it's called. Whenever you leave somewhere to go home and shit, it is called the
pulling a Norton?
Or, yeah, pull the Norton.
I got to go drop a Norton.
No.
A shit in the hotel.
No.
Your special that's on Showtime right now. It's on Showtime On Demand right now.
Yeah.
It was filmed. Wait, is it? So you did a 7-night run at the Beacon, right?
Yeah.
And is this special one of those 7 nights, or is it pieced together?
It's one of those 7 nights. We shot 2 of the shows.
Okay.
And we used one, basically the late show on a Saturday, we used that one and cut a couple jokes in from the first one, which I thought were a little bit better.
Did you
The
wear
special, by the way, is called Why Would You Do That? And it's on now.
Yeah, it's good. Did you wear the same shirt throughout the entire run, just in case, so you had everything?
Double of everything. So I sweat through a shirt, and then we dispose of that shirt, and then we put a new one.
Put the new one back on.
I'm very into clothing.
You are.
That's the strangest question I've ever heard. By the way,
because it's a 7-night
I know.
run.
I wouldn't have never occurred to me.
Right.
And I
That
was
is
like,
cool. You were there for a week. Did you perspire?
You gotta wear the same shirt every night if you're gonna film a special.
No, but the risk with that is like to do 7. First of all, it's such an amazing run, 7 shows
At the Bacon. That's the
It's
Allman
incredible.
Brothers.
That's
the
incredible.
Allman Brothers.
Yeah, it really is. And but to do 7 shows when you're filming 2 of them is scary because what if the Friday early show? Did you have any shows that you're like, fuck, I wish we got that one?
Yeah. You're always. I think you're always gonna have that. You're like, man, the Wednesday night was really good. Actually, the last show, Sunday night, was I think the best show that we didn't get. But we filmed the 2 on Saturday, and I had my 2 shirts ready to go.
Did you?
You've always been a good dresser. Though. I remember one of the first things I noticed about Sebastian years ago. You wore a suit on stage. He looked really, really good, and people do respond to that. You know, they're like, "Well, he looks like he belongs there." You know, it goes a long way with people. They feel like they're not. It just feels like a bigger event.
Yeah, I don't know. I always enjoyed dressing up. I used to wear maybe a suit, but it was too hot, and I like to be a little bit more mobile. So I switched it up a little bit.
But the younger guys don't do that though. You see them coming on big baggy shorts and shit. They look like they just came from the gym. I saw a kid who was literally wearing gym shorts the other night.
It's Roland.
Was his name Big Something Okerson?
Actually, it was somebody who looks up to Big J.
Okay.
And then also they don't go for energy either. Do you notice that? Like the younger guys.
Some of them don't.
They lean back.
Yeah, well, the part of me, I think some of the comedians, if that's naturally who you are, but I think some of them are afraid.
It's a defense mechanism, right?
I think so, and they're scared, and they're afraid. That they think that makes them look like, wow, look at this genius, just a conduit for brilliance. Like, they're afraid that if they emote, it looks like they're overselling it, and I think some of them are scared of the audience, and they don't know how to comfortably do it, so they just kind of stand there like dime store India. And, you know, if it's not, that's who you are, that's fine, but a lot of them, that's not who they are.
I also have a theory that a lot of the younger comics that do that, like that deliver jokes as if they're not joking, it's a way to do it so that if it doesn't get any laughs, they're like, yeah, I wasn't joking.
Well,
they
safety
just
mechanism, yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
But then why are you standing up there?
Yeah, what are you doing?
What's the point?
I don't know.
Exactly.
I don't know.
Well, but you're right about the clothing. Every time I think the clothing, like, wow, you know, it really does help. You look at Dice, who certainly didn't wear a suit, or Kinnison, or Louis, who looks like he just fucking rolled out of bed. Like
now he's suit boy though.
What's that?
Louis now wearing suits.
Is he really?
Yeah, he started.
Well, what on stage?
Yeah, on stage when he does shows now. He said he decided he's an adult.
It gives people that $89 worth. They're paying that much for a ticket. They want to see a guy who's dressed well, you know, who's there to perform.
Maybe not. I don't know. I grew up watching Dice, so he was always theatrical in his dress.
New leather coat every special. Every special.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the best Dice leather coat was the MTV Music Awards with the black and white zebra.
Oh my God! Yes, yeah. It was like a fucking something. It was like a rug in Scarface.
There he is, just like vertical stripes running down. He's the man.
Oh, is that nice? That's
He's
a
the
statement.
man.
He really was. He wore it without shame and comfortably, and it just worked.
Yeah.
When you did the 7 shows at the Beacon, was it planned? I'm going to go out and I'm going to do these 7 shows. Or you like, let's book a couple shows, and then they sold out. I think we could do another one.
Exactly. We booked 2 shows there, and I think it was 3 at first. We're going to shoot the 2, and then they sold, and then I had another one, and then you know the demand was such where we ended up doing 7. I didn't plan on doing 7. It just kind of worked out that way, but. New York City's always been a really, really kind of hot spot for me, and it's
pretty amazing.
Yeah, that's great. It really is. It's phenomenal. It's not easy to do at all.
you.
7 shows in the fucking Beacon. I mean, that's a garden or more. That's more than a garden. That's like 2 gardens.
Do you think that way though? Like when you're like, okay, I just did 7 Beacons. Are you like, I should be doing arenas?
I'm not in a. That's not really where I want to be.
You'd be great in an arena, though. I think that your act would be because you are animated. I think you would be fantastic in an arena.
I appreciate that, but this is my thing with the arena. At least for my fans, I think people are a little more comfortable in a theater setting. it seems like it's a little bit more of a classier an event, where a stadium seems, it's a basketball stadium. Maybe the seating is not as comfortable, and the people are high up. They really can't see. Yeah, you got the screens, but I look at it as more of an intimate, no more than 3,000 people. I think for a comedy fan is a little bit more intimate.
I look at it the same way, but I keep it to 100-seat clubs.
I told you, I said, you're ready for 125 seaters. And
I won't do it. I said, everyone here has to leave with some of my DNA on them. Oh, God. But you are right. I guess it does change the dynamic when you're in a massive. I've seen a couple of comedians work. I think I've seen 3 or 4 like in big arenas, and it always seems to work. But they seem to be the right acts for those venues. I imagine if you're not the right act for it, would seem odd or feel uncomfortable.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I guess. Is this what you've been working toward? Like, is this how you envisioned things going when you started comedy? Like, I want to be this level of success, or is it, or
the goal?
Yeah,
was in 1998 when I moved out. I said, I just want to do stand-up comedy for a living. That was the goal.
Right.
If I could do this and feed myself, pay the rent, and have a nice little car or whatever it might be, I'd be happy. I didn't really aspire to be like, anything that was, out of the ordinary. I just wanted to do what I enjoyed doing for a living. I was always a shy guy. I was more comfortable with my family. And telling stories with my family. I was never a class clown or anything like that. And I just enjoyed getting up in front of the class and making them laugh and then sitting back down.
You're comfortable with your family telling stories like that and just like around your mom and dad, your aunts and uncles?
That's my little audience, especially my mother. If I could make my mother laugh, I feel like that's a nice little seed so we could play with it on stage.
Wow, okay.
That's still your test audience.
Yeah, my mom, if I could get her going, I know that's something I could explore.
Will she give you laughs now? Because I know that you're doing this and be like, oh, yeah, or no?
No, it's more, it's never like, it's very organic with my mother. You're just talking and I'll tell my mom, listen, oh, man, you should use that. And then, and then maybe I'll, but for whatever the reason is, with my mother, I have this comfortableness of just telling a story and kind of the beats kind of work itself out over the phone, talking to her. It's kind of my little stage, I guess.
My family's never said you should use that. I hear things like, "Don't tell anybody that."
Why? I mean, do you have that relationship with your family? Where you talk and sit around the table and goof around?
No, but it's my fault, not theirs. They're nice people. I'm just a weirdo.
They don't like transvestite stories?
I would never tell one. Transsexuals, well, that's a different story. Dad, you on board? Yeah, they, I don't know. I don't have that. But again, it's not their fault. They're really nice and they'd love it. But I'm just a fucking weird, shame-filled idiot.
Yeah, no, I get that.
So I'm always fascinated. I admire that. Like, I think that's such a nice way to be, to have that comfort level.
Well, you're not this funny guy around your family?
I'm a fucking closed-up shell who just wants to hear them talk about them. I don't want to talk about me at all.
Really? Wow.
What have you been up to? Do you really want to ask that question? What answer do you want? What have I been up to? Hopefully not catching AIDS.
Is Dennis Falcone still outside? There's a huge fan.
Oh, is he a big Sebastian fan? I didn't know that.
He told me yesterday that he was a big fan of yours, and I noticed him 20 minutes ago outside the studio door. Yeah, we can bring him in. We can bring him in.
He's a legendary DJ here.
Yeah, Dennis is a legendary DJ.
How you doing, pal? How's everything?
He's previously been banned from the show, but first of all, I love that Dennis's comfort position is just, I'll just share Sebastian's
You're not
mic.
splitting a mic. You got a mic.
There's an empty one right
Jenny,
there.
what are you doing?
Just want to come over and say hello to the guest.
I know that, but you just kind of stood there like you were going to talk in a thin air.
No, he wanted to share a mic with Sebastian. You told me yesterday you're a huge fan, right?
The guy's fantastic. He is one of my top 3 Italian comedians.
Wow.
Top 3 Italian.
You break them down by ethnicity?
Yes. Pat Cooper.
He's not as funny as the blacks, but as far as the Italians go.
As far as circumcised guys go, I enjoy him.
Sal Richards.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
Old school.
And Sebastian, number 1.
Wow.
That's good company.
Because I'm Italian too, so everything you were talking about in that special, right
You
on.
related to it, right?
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Have you seen him live?
No, not live.
Good
I
fan.
saw him on TV, though.
He did 7 shows at the Beacon. You couldn't get one ticket? You can just go buy a ticket? It's 7 shows. He was there around the clock.
Danny likes comps. He doesn't like
I'm on radio. I should be on the list.
Yeah, no, I understand.
I should be on the list.
Absolutely.
Do you like non-Italian comedians?
Oh yeah, there's a few good ones.
Who do you like?
What's that? I like
heard
Jim
me.
Norton.
Oh,
Of
come
course.
on. You don't have to say that because I'm right here. Oh, Denny, don't be fresh.
Yeah, I mean, he's just fantastic because everything. I'm from Brooklyn, so you're Chicago, so it's very similar with the Italian people.
Did you grow up with immigrant parents?
My grandparents.
Your grandparents?
Yeah, matter of fact, my grandfather's name's Sebastiano.
Oh, nice.
I'm from Brooklyn, so I love hearing your stories about Chicago.
Yeah, that really was bizarre.
I mean, you got Boston, Philly. Italians are all the same.
Yeah.
What do you call it? Tomato sauce or gravy?
I've never
Tomato
heard him
sauce.
so
You call it
racist
sauce?
in my life.
People that call it gravy.
I think gravy. I think of brown turkey gravy.
I know,
Absolutely.
but
I think of life. It's all gravy, Denny.
It's all gravy.
That's right.
By the way, all Denny's doing is pointing out differences as he's trying to
Absolutely.
find common ground.
Yes.
No. I
Yeah.
mean, it's
All
very
Italians,
much the same.
they're the same,
When
right?
I hear gravy,
No.
I think what's running down Denny's leg right now is he's blowing this.
No, I'm nice and clean. No, the reason
He's blowing
we were
it.
watching this special last week, and my wife said, I like him. He's clean. He's very clean.
right.
You know? Him, Sinbad. Sinbad's very clean also.
Sinbad.
Charlie Callis was very clean.
Do you like that?
Charlie Callis is the best. Yeah.
Yeah. He
Do you
was
like
always
that?
on the Dean Martin show.
Yes.
Sebastian, do you like that as like a compliment? Like, oh, you know, I like you because you're clean, or would you prefer to just be a comedian?
No, clean. I like that.
You like clean?
I like clean.
You
Well,
take pride in it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
It's nice because to be as successful as Sebastian is, or a guy like Gaffigan who is also very funny. Being clean, some guys are clean or cornballs, but then there's guys who are clean who are legitimately funny. It's really hard to do.
Right.
It's hard to be that good for that long without going into so many different areas. I mean, it's not easy.
That's what you respect, Dennis, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so, because it's tougher to be clean, and funny.
All right. Well,
It's
that's a
tough.
direct shot at Jim Norton, but go on.
No,
but
I'm
he's-
just saying he's a
he's not-
different style
he-
comedian. I couldn't take my wife to see Jimmy.
Whoa.
You should probably leave with me.
That's why.
Should be smart to leave with anybody.
So I would just say I love the guy. He's funny as hell, but
Yeah.
it's not her cup of tea.
Yeah, but you should continue relating to Sebastian. That was fun.
So what
That
else
was
is
fun.
the same between Chicago
Yes.
and Brooklyn and all
exactly.
Italians?
So does your family members of the IRA as well?
He was talking. He was talking about his grandmother making macaroni in the basement.
Yeah,
I don't call it pasta. I call it macaroni.
Well, we call it pasta.
Yeah.
But
Okay, another difference. That's okay. That's good. Yeah, that's good.
So, but my grandparents used to make the wine in the basement.
Oh, yeah, we didn't.
You didn't make wine.
0 for 7.
Well, maybe we're just like a little different. But are you Calabrese, Sicilian, Bades? What are you?
Sicilian, and my mother's family's from Napoli.
Oh,
And you?
And how about you?
Napoleon. I'm Calabrese
Of course
and
you are.
Sicilian.
Oh, okay.
So you have very, very little in common with
Nothing in
Sebastian.
common.
He's got that gene. You know what I'm saying? That gene.
Oh, yeah.
So your parents came right over.
My father came when he was 15. My mother was born in the United States. So we were more Americanized than anything else. But to speak to your point, my grandparents were the type of grandparents where they lived in the basement, they cooked in the basement. It was all about food and
Real immigrants, yeah.
Real
so
immigrants.
Do you go back over at all or no? Have you ever been over?
My father and I went back to Sicily for the first time I've ever been in 6 years, and the first time he's ever gone back in 50.
Just you and him?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So we went back to where he grew up, and he said, "This is where I played foosball, and this is where I learned how to play soccer." And I'm an emotional guy, right? I'm like, I had to take like a knee. I was a little emotional.
Were you really?
And he was nothing affected him. I go, nothing, no crying here. This is your. And he goes, nah, this is just I'm in shock that I'm in back in Sicily. So that trip, he has now gone back every year since. So.
Wow.
I would never get emotional going to my dad's old neighborhood. I'd be like, let's get out of here, Dad. There's a lot of blacks. Newark. No, Jersey City. No, the neighborhood's changed, Dad. Let's get out of here.
We got to wrap the show up for the day.
Why?
You know what? This thing, though, of having that chance to go back with your dad to Sicily, it's just unbelievable. And after you get to kill somebody and then you jump back on the plane, you got your button now and everything's all worked out.
Everything's good.
Your family ever do that?
No,
We don't talk about
We
that.
went to a wedding once, though, and Joe Colombo was there, old Italian gangster.
Yeah.
And my father told me, don't go bother him.
Oh, no. I wish you were having a
Don't
meal with him.
bother him. He said, don't bother him at all. But we grew up in Brooklyn where there was a lot of those wise guys. They used to work, not work at all, and they used to sit in front of the social clubs. Remember John Gotti would talk about the social clubs?
Remember before, like we
So-
I,
He's wrapping up.
I was
So-
wrapping up, and Ron.
So
had a
wait a
line,
minute.
and,
Did Denny almost get involved in the mafia?
No, so I would see, my
Were you
dad.
almost
my,
a mobster?
My dad and I would walk, during
No.
the day when he was off. I said, Dad, how come these
Gonna
guys
go
don't
nowhere.
work during the day? And they would just sit on chairs and drink and play cards. He goes, don't bother them, don't talk to them.
It's the working man. That's the real hero, son.
Yeah, it was very similar to Bronxdale.
Yeah, that's
You
right.
ever
right.
see the
Line
line
from
from
it. And would they try to
Bronxdale, that
seduce
takes
you?
place in Chicago, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're very similar.
Would they try to
Italians.
seduce you, and your father would go, "Hey, don't talk to my daughter"?
Well, listen,
Denny was almost a fucking mobster.
He was.
I'm gonna get into this more with Denny during the week.
Are you going to be back home for Thanksgiving?
Thanksgiving.
Dennis.
Yeah, because
He's got to wrap up.
Dennis,
you come over.
He's trying to connect
my-
with. He's
my
forgotten
mother-
all his radio lessons.
My mother makes fresh sauce. She doesn't buy that ragu or anything. It's fresh sauce.
now you drop
Come
gravy.
over.
You got nothing
What's
in
that?
common,
He said
Dennis.
sauce. We just
You
said
have nothing in
sauce.
common.
We're Italian.
You have to deal
We're
with that.
Sicilian. He's
You're
part
not
Sicilian.
connecting. You didn't connect.
That's right. Guy's making $8 million a year. He doesn't want to eat stuff your mom made in the basement. Yeah, she put her own feet in this. Have a sip.
Like the stuff. She makes the stuffed mushrooms.
Dennis!
artichokes.
Dennis!
Yeah.
We're done.
The spadinas,
Dennis!
the veal where you wrap up with the toothpick. You ever have those? The spadinas? They call them veal rollatini, the Americans. The spadinas.
Sebastian, you think you're going to hang out with Dennis outside of this?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, okay. That's it.
We're back with more best of Jim Norton and Sam Roberts.
Yeah, Ari Shaffir is here. That's that third voice. Welcome, Ari.
Thanks, man. Congratulations, you guys.
Oh, thank you very much.
Hell yeah, I'm really happy for you too.
Thank you. It's been a lot of fun so far.
Yeah.
We know each other for what, fucking 10 years, so it's easy.
Yeah, more than that, I think. Yeah. But here's the problem though. Skylar Gray, we just had a decent interview with her.
Yeah.
So we're gonna probably.
You're gonna run me out of here?
Yeah, we gotta get you to walk out of here. We gotta follow.
I got
up
my
there.
knapsack. It's not that bright red.
That's what Ari was saying during the break that like he didn't watch the Nancy Grace video yet, but he saw the headline and everything. But so far his favorite thing is just seeing the photo of her with her book bag on.
Yes.
With her knapsack.
Yeah.
I'm torn because she profits off dead children, and I love fucking young children. So
it's hard for you to make a determination on what's right and wrong there. I understand. Sure.
Who do I side with?
What's going on with you, man?
I don't know. I got my show coming out tonight.
What's your show?
This is Not Happening, my storytelling show.
Is it on Comedy Central?
Yeah.
That's great, man.
It's the third season, right?
Your mic is falling like that.
I know.
Oh boy, your mic is
This is like me
unimpressed.
with a slightly overweight chick. Where
You're
it starts
talking into
strong.
my career.
Dipping. I don't know. Be at the bottom at some point.
Yeah, no, you still not because there was a while you weren't texting or doing any of that stuff. Are you still?
No, I got a flip phone still.
You do.
I was going to talk to you
I
about
can
that
text.
because I saw your Instagram thing.
Yeah.
I think you put it on Instagram.
Yeah.
Like it was some quote. I agree with it about how shitty smartphones have made.
It has changed your life. Not
culture.
even shitty. It has just changed things.
Right.
You know, we're still trying to figure out an etiquette about it. You know, sometimes you go into a radio show and you talk to someone that are on their cell phone the whole time.
Right. And that's somehow not rude because.
Yeah. And for a while, you couldn't do it in movies. And now it's popping up.
That's
you see the
where
lights.
it's rude.
You see the
visually,
lights. Yeah.
It's again, we're trying to counterbalance. Like being connected to everything, it's really hard to put it down. And I can pay attention or talk and have the phone. It's a weird thing. It's because it's like thinking.
Yeah.
It's like instead of thinking, you're texting.
Yeah, but you're also. I mean, even when you think that like you can do two things at once,
You can't.
You can't. You're
They
doing
said-
text as
they
well.
said if you're
well.
on the phone, like even on earphones, when you're driving, it cuts down your peripheral vision by like 20%.
Yeah, but peripheral vision is overrated. I've always hated it.
Who's coming from your left or right? No,
Yeah,
it's
I
straight
hate
on and
it.
forget.
Exactly.
And there's
I'm a meat and
peripheral
potatoes guy.
vision.
There's no way that conversationally you're nearly as good if you're just talking as you are if you're looking at your phone and
Do you
looking
understand?
up. and
That's
looking-
how I
fucking way.
write. That's how I write. Like
Yeah,
literally.
that explains a lot.
When I'm writing, like I literally have to be. I have to be doing one thing and then going back to that, or I get maybe it's ADD,
get
but I
bored?
get very bored, and then I lose focus totally. But these little dumb resets help me stay focused on things.
I mean, sometimes if I'm writing, I'm like, I can't think of anything else. I'll go watch TV for an hour or something.
Yeah,
then
you
I'll
go
come
do
back.
something, go for a walk. It's a
But
distraction.
you're just constant.
It's a dopamine thing too, but I mean, I really, I was like that, but back before even the phone, when I was writing Happy Endings in 2007 or 2006, I was in the comedy cellar because I kept jerking off on the computer, so I had to be somewhere to,
Oh,
like,
yeah,
to
you
have
gotta
a
be
healthy
gone.
distraction. But
I
you
remember
know,
you were like it was the damnedest thing I ever saw. You were writing the book while you were doing the radio show.
Was I doing that? That's
yeah,
right.
you
yeah.
would bring in the laptop and write
right.
And you
your
just do it
book.
at
If I had a thought, because I couldn't jerk off on the radio, not while I was on the air, but if I had a thought, I would jot something down, and then we would do the show.
Dude, I can't write shit at home. I've never been able to write at home. I'm always like, let me go check my email or do
too hard,
something.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
it's very
so
hard.
much you can do besides the actual work.
And now Netflix and all that stuff. I'm watching Stranger Things. Like, it's hard not to just watch.
Are you watching
TV.
Stranger Things?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
like it?
It's okay.
You're not a fantasy guy.
That's all I do is fantasize. I literally will get a dirty picture. This is where I am at age
Yeah.
48. I'll get a pornographic picture sent to me, and I won't even jerk off. I'll just lightly feather my nipples.
Why
do you do that? Because it feels terrific.
Just to get it started, let me torture myself.
No, just lightly doing that, and then my dick kind of plumps up like, hey, what's happening? Who stopped over?
You got to know your body.
Yeah.
It's gross. But yeah, no, I think that's right. What kind of phone do you have?
I have an
This is a Gravity 2. The Gravity 3 wasn't working out. It was too many pocket calls, so I had to move back to the Gravity 2.
Who makes it?
Samsung.
Were you getting addicted to it, and that's why you wanted to
Yeah, it's
kind
for
of
sure
curb
addiction.
you? Okay.
Yeah, and in fact, I think everybody is. But when people tell me like I'm not, and then I'll just wait until they're like
Sure.
a club owner's texting in a room, in a comedy room, and then I'll just lean over their shoulders, and I'm like addict.
Did it help you at all with that?
For sure. Instantly, socially more present. Instantly.
You are, right?
Absolutely.
Are you more because I feel anxious a lot, and I know
Yeah.
that part of it is this.
Oh yeah.
I'm pointing at my dick, but I mean, are you less anxious now?
Yeah, but there's 1,000 things pulling at you at all times.
Yeah.
Like when you get high, sometimes you don't do that.
I don't.
You don't
No.
either.
High on life, I get high when I see a dog barking or a flower blooming. I get high.
You do? I'm
So
sure it's
happy I can't
exactly
even
the
help
same.
it.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I see a smile.
You get high off smiles.
I do.
What about when a butterfly blossoms out of a cocoon?
I'm high for days.
How about the first day of spring, Jimmy?
It's a wonderful day to be high.
Right.
I bet it
right.
is.
No seasonal allergies?
No.
Got you high.
So yeah, but so you feel it pulling at you. That's a great point. That you're more socially present.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, that was the first day. I was talking to Nikki the first day I got it, Glazer. And it was like, I mean, I'm talking to you. I'm not like underneath the table checking Instagram,
hard, dude.
like
Yes.
replies and stuff.
I think the balance.
There's 7 to 10 things pulling at you at all times.
Especially when you're any kind of a public figure, when you know people could be talking about you at any given moment, and you're
Yeah.
like, oh, I just want to see if anybody's talking about
Yeah.
me. Like, I hope it's good. I hope it's good. I hope it's
The
good.
balance will come. It's like we're the first
Balancing-
generation.
yeah, we're the
to-
tweeners because we
Yeah.
weren't raised with it. We haven't. We still sometimes like, I need shoes. I better go out and get shoes instead of like, I'll just order them.
I never order shoes. They're never the right size.
Right,
I have
so
little
that's-
fat feet. If you want to get into it, it's hard for me to order
size
shoes.
like 3 feet.
No, I don't. I have size. I have size approximately 7.5, but they're triple E width.
You
for
look
those
like
trivia fans.
You look like your mom put you in one of those steel boxes to not let your feet grow.
She did like a little Japanese girl. She
Yeah.
wanted my dad had a foot fetish. Mom wanted to pretty me up.
Bound feet.
Yeah, it's Rockport shoes fit me comfortably.
Oh, I was wondering about that.
You're really wide? Are you really? They're wide?
My feet are they're just weird boxy feet. What do you make your
Cute.
eyes at?
Taylor.
Your little
Wake
boy
up with
shoes.
Taylor. Yeah. So, but I feel like because I don't know that there is going to be a balance. I think it'll just be acceptable that you're locked into your screen.
I think it's if you're 10 now, in 20 years, when you didn't know, you never knew a world without it, you'll be able to process all that stuff better.
Go back and forth.
Yeah.
But we'll be attached to them too. There's going to be an attachment, a mental attachment.
There's
that-
got to be a chip. There's
What's
got to
that?
be a chip soon.
that they're putting
No,
in your brain.
chip. No, chip.
What's that?
No, chip. It's not.
But no, you're right. There's going to be something that you just think it and it happens. We're just not there yet.
Uh-huh.
So they'll fix it.
It really is, though. I mean, I was on the air the other day talking about like it ruined my day because I have the iPhone 6.
Yeah.
Then I updated it.
Oh, you can't update. That's
I know.
how they get you.
They got me.
That's how they get you. What do you get? Half your battery life now?
Half the battery life. None of the shit works anymore.
I will not update it.
And then, my wife is like, well, you should just get the new iPhone. And
Divorce
I go,
her.
Yeah, yes, exactly. You understand?
Yes.
I go, it's the same fucking phone.
It's the same phone, but just less what? Less. You can't use earphones anymore?
Yeah, there's no earphones and the camera's better.
So now you have to use their earphones because what if Bose, which I happen to like, what if they don't have the fucking wireless earphones I like?
Jim, there's an adapter. You can plug an adapter in and then plug a regular headphones in.
There are entire industries set up around iPhone shortcomings.
Yes.
Like they're like, oh, if you drop it for more than a foot, it'll just break. All right, well, all these case makers started up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody's just making accessories because it doesn't work on its own.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, though, as soon as I come home, I'm instantly on the computer checking all the stuff, catching up. And before I leave, I feel this draw of like, you're going to leave. It's like last day of camp. So I'm like, I got to get my last.
No more molested.
What are the last tweets coming at me? No more molested.
So you do, though. You check like right before you leave and right.
Yeah. So sometimes it's hard for me to go. I'm late to stuff sometimes. I'm like, let me just check one more thing.
It's hard. I'm anxious a lot, but I mean, part of it is my lack of sleep and my normal. I was anxious before technology.
Yeah.
So, but it pulls at you, right? It's all that shit pulling.
Sleeping
at
is
you.
probably better too, because it's like. It's a lot more effort to pull your laptop out. Like, let me check something. Like if you're like halfway asleep, you could easily just grab your phone and be
It's the worst thing for sleep. Staring at that screen.
Dude, it fucks with your brain.
It takes out that shit from your eyes. Like you physically can't sleep after you've been staring at it.
You're right. It's so. For a while, when I wasn't jerking off, like I went through my little periods.
How long?
I went through a couple of weeks.
I'm on 2 months right now.
Are you?
Since August 3rd.
You're all about self-discipline.
Yeah,
well, I was
like,
like you're like let me
Sometimes.
let me make
Have
life
you
a little
snuck
tougher.
in any touches? Here's what you do.
Oh yeah, I'll work up a hard on, then say stop.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
When there's
sometimes-
showers, you got to clean yourself.
Do you feel like your dick is more sensitive now?
Yeah, man, and it also makes me more social. I'm able to fuck chubbier girls. I'm just like I gotta get off.
You're not selling this well. It helps me fuck fatter girls.
I mean, I'm
sign
like,
me up.
Instead of being like, I don't feel like going out now. I'm like, yeah. Like after a show, someone's like, want to come for drinks? You know, if it's like just them, I would always go. But if it's them and like 3 of their friends, I'm like, just give me your number. But now I'm like, yeah, let's go out.
We need to.
Yeah,
we need to get this out of me because I don't
Yeah.
have any other option right now.
It's
Have you had
overflowing.
have you had nocturnal emissions?
No, but I wet my bed still, so I wouldn't know.
You wet your bed?
No, I'm joking. But I did till I was like 16, so I didn't. I don't know if I had wet dreams when I was little.
You wet your bed till you were 16?
Yeah, it was bad.
Why'd you do that?
It wasn't like I fucking stood over it.
There's gotta be
Under my bed.
all over the bed. Was there any medical explanation?
No, I don't know, man. I just do it. I couldn't stop. I pray to God to help me.
He didn't listen, did he?
Oh,
That's why you became an atheist.
Yeah, if he's not
Yeah.
going to stop infanticide or clitoral circumcisions, your bedwetting is not at the top of the list.
It's not. It's like, hold on, I gotta cure Ari real quick.
Yeah.
So why'd you stop jerking off?
I was in Dublin. I was about to go to Edinburgh for a month, and I was going to live with 4 dudes, DeRosa and these three whatever. And I was like, I don't want to jerk off with 3 dudes. And also, I was like, I wanted to make me like try to fuck a chick in it, so some pale faced Scottish chick. And so it did. I hooked up with like a few of them.
How hard was it?
You wanted to make it because then you, like we said, you have to, right? You have to.
Oh yeah,
close.
exactly. It just makes you do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, some girl was like, let's go hang out. I was like, yes, absolutely, let's go hang out. Yeah. Do you ever have the problem of like drive to like go get laid?
Yes.
Yeah.
God, I'm the worst. Yeah, because jerking off on the phones. It really does
And then it's like,
disconnect
meh.
you.
But you also love like the hooker thing.
Not as much anymore. Not
Really?
like, no,
Really?
man, no. No.
Because I was gonna say, obviously, you're not gonna if like that's part of it, right? Is paying a girl, so you're not gonna want to go out and meet somebody.
You know, I jerked off last night. I couldn't sleep. I was on the like it was 1 in the morning, and I couldn't.
Yeah.
And I'm like, just
Does help you
fucking
sleep.
dump a load. And I put a little paper towel by the bed, and I fucking. It was such a good.
Just so you could gerbil onto the paper towel.
No, it was such a good load. I was jerking off. I just had my dickhead rubbing into my stomach when I came. It was literally like somebody. It was like sleep just vomiting on my stomach. It was the worst, grossest fucking middle-aged man cum ever. A big thick one too.
All over your belly.
Oh my god, it was fucking awful. It was like there was like a little. It was like someone was just throwing cottage cheese on me, and then I dolloped it off. Paper towel barely got all of it, and then I fucking dozed off while it hardened on my fucking my.
That's gross. You can
Yeah.
peel it off like.
No, it hardened on the towel, not on me. I
okay.
put it right by my mouth guard. That's a fun mistake.
Of course, yeah.
Dude, I jerked off once in Israel. I was staying at my aunt and uncle's house. I jerked off into a tissue, and I put it by the bed and went to sleep. And then when I woke up, there was just this trail of ants from the window and just all over that tissue. Just covering it.
They loved it.
How do you think
Yeah.
they felt?
You must have very sweet jizz.
Oh, I must have, right?
Yeah, right?
It's
Yeah.
changed now that I'm
That's
not a
disgusting.
virgin anymore. But yeah, and then when I hooked up last night with like a good-looking girl, and it was like I just get so much harder and like
You did, right?
yeah. And then in the middle of the night, like an hour later, I'm like now again instead of like I'm good for a week.
So wait a minute, where
can
did you
you
meet
let-
her?
This one,
Yeah.
I met her. I hooked up with her like a year ago.
Do you
and
still use social like the dating apps?
No.
There's never on what?
Cersei, find me a date.
Oh, wow.
There's no dating.
Yeah,
apps.
no, I stopped with Tinder. I remember telling you about Tinder. I'm
That's
like,
what
you
I'm
got to
saying.
get on that, man.
I've met there's some nice people on those apps. Like I like,
For sure.
I actually like them.
That's what
For
you're looking
sure.
for. Just a nice person.
I am.
Yeah. Oh.
I joined. Let's see. There's another one. I
Bumble?
can't. Oh, of course, Bumble's old hat to me. This one here. Where's this one? But I haven't met anyone yet.
Which one?
There's this one. I've not met anyone on.
Shreds Grinder?
Yeah, and then that one, another one. It's a delightful trans app. I've met no one on. those.
What's your percentage of women to other?
You know, it's hard
That's a
to
great
say.
question.
It is a really good. Believe me, I've asked myself that. I guess it all depends. I go through phases.
Have you done an accounting?
Like, so you'll go through phases where you're just hooking up with trans people?
Not just hooking up. No, I never am just hooking up. No.
Have you ever had a girlfriend that's trans?
Would you?
Sure.
You don't have many girlfriends, though, do you? It's been a
No.
while, right?
No, it's been since I had a real girlfriend. Like in I Love You Too was 2011. I've dated since then. I've had a couple of girls I've dated who I liked very much, but it was more casual.
So when you're going through one of your phases, though, what's the ratio of trans to non-trans? Like, what percentage?
It honestly could change from day to day. There's
Depends who
never.
you come across, too, right? I'm sure.
Yeah, it really is like that. There's never like, okay, only that, you know what I mean? I'm never going to not love a big fat vagina. Like,
Right.
never. I can't. And I'm not saying that just to tell myself, that will never not turn me on.
Right. But you got love for a dick connected to some tits, too.
I'm working with one. I mean, yeah, how do you not? So it's a tough racket, but it's just not there. They need to put that fucking, that option on Tinder.
What?
Trans option, I think.
Oh, yeah.
That would make sense. I mean,
guess so.
given
They
the
should.
culture.
Why
Absolutely
not?
should.
Because they
Yeah.
have male and female, and they have Grinder. I don't want to go on Grinder. I'm not looking to meet men.
Easy
Right.
update. Easy update.
They could do it, because then you got to go on the trans app, and it's a lot of them are just escorts and stuff. And it's not.
You're not looking for that.
No.
There's so many of those apps now. It's kind of crazy.
Dating
know.
apps?
Dating app. They have herpes for herpes people.
Really?
Yeah, they have all sorts of stuff. That's great.
Do you
great.
do you blow your load quicker now because you don't jerk off?
Sometimes, yeah. You got to like be careful.
Yeah.
But then it's like this, second time you can go a little longer. But like, sometimes you got to be like, I just feel like going down on you again. It's like, what do you mean? You just did. Like,
We should do it again, though.
Yeah, 20 seconds of sex is enough for a little bit. And then,
Wow, yeah, it does make you more sensitive. There's, the thoughts will turn you on more.
Yeah, thoughts turn you on. Just like the idea. It's like, oh my God, look at that.
So you're not really
it's
watching.
fun again. I feel like I also slow down on weed. So now, like when I get high, I get high.
So your dick was desensitized a little bit, right, from jerking off slightly?
Yeah, for sure.
And you're not really watching porn?
No, for what now?
Exactly.
For what? The storyline,
Right.
the videography.
Yeah.
There's no reason to watch porn.
Man, so what are you like? Do you just go through?
Yeah, but girls send me pictures now instead of like, cool, I got a picture from you. Now it's like, oh my God.
Yeah, because that's what you have.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at those hooters, or whatever you say. I don't know. I'm
That's
not
what
a
you
good
would say?
dirty
That's
talker.
cool.
Yeah, look at
That's
those
cool.
hooters.
This has been the best of Jim Norton and Sam Roberts. Hear the show live Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern. Or listen anytime on your phone with the SiriusXM app.